Just how jam-packed can a full 300 days of Stardew Valley be? Well, with the 1.6 update, it's safe to say it is very jam-packed. From humble beginnings to being on top of the world, you will get to see it all in this 100% playthrough of Stardew Valley 1.6. That adventure begins here on the Meadowlands farm. If you've never played Stardew before, first of all, what are you doing? Secondly, the story goes that we left our dead-end corporate job for the fresh air and delightful small-town life in Stardew Valley to run our late grandpa's farm. With the 1.6 update, we got this brand spanking new farm type, the Meadowlands farm. The perks of this farm include 2 chickens and a coop, who are promptly named Princess and Lady. I say, they lead a life of opulence with those names. The cons, well, you don't start with parsnip seeds. Instead, you get a bunch of hay. And this farm does not have a lot of room for crops. However, I like a challenge, and I'm sure we can make do with this beautiful stretch of land in front of us. In typical first day fashion, I headed out beyond the confines of the farm and explored the valley, picking up forage along the way since I'll have to make up for the fact that I have 0 parsnip seeds to my name. I came across Hayley while wandering the Cindersap forest, and she knows exactly how to warmly welcome a newcomer to the town. I notice whenever I level up my skills now, I get a little message saying I've got some ideas to sleep on. A very nice touch. Over at Pierre's, I handed over the forage for some extra coin, and purchased as many parsnip seeds as my wallet would allow. I took my 40 seeds back to the farm and made a start getting those suckers planted in the ground. I got so close to watering all of the hoed dirt, however my energy levels were critical, and I went back out in search of more forage. I found these massive trees, a new addition to the update south of the farm, and not to mention this hidden away door close by, only accessible by a master of the 5 ways. You know what I didn't find though? More forage. So I had to make do with the land I had watered earlier, and I planted down some parsnips anyway. As the sun set on my first day, I admired this waterfall for a moment and decided to call it a night. Which must mean it's a brand new day. While filling up my watering can this morning, I made sure to pet Lady and Princess on the way past. Even the upper class needs some love every now and again. My parsnips got a healthy drink of water. In my mailbox was a letter from Willie saying to meet him down at the beach. And I planted the leftover parsnip seeds now that I had energy to do so. I even added a row of mixed seeds to the field of crops too. Soon afterwards, I got to chopping down trees around the farm for wood, and I used the seeds they dropped to make and eat a couple of field snacks. I need that energy for an activity we'll all become familiar with. That's right, it's the exciting world of fishing. Thanks to Willie's kind gesture to give me a rod for free, I'm now able to catch as many fish as my heart desires. While we've got a second to spare, I should mention that the only mod I have installed for this playthrough is the UI Info Suite mod. It's a quality of life mod that shows me the daily luck, weather, and a whole bunch of other things. Plus, it shows how long crops have left to grow, the radius of scarecrows and sprinklers, my skill levels, and how close I am to leveling up. It's a fantastic mod that I can't really go without anymore. I'll link it in the description if you want to download it. But apart from that, it's just pure vanilla 1.6 Stardew Valley. As for the rest of the day, fishing is what I lived and breathed. Sebastian came out to keep me company later in the evening, but I don't think he really cared to keep me company for long. And at 2 AM I had reached my limit and passed out in the middle of the mountain lake. The rain today meant that I didn't have to water my crops, a marvelous feeling for any newbie farmer. I had kept all of my fish caught from yesterday to take down to Willie's shop. The training rod is fine, but I'm already after an upgrade. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough to afford the fiberglass rod, so I had to spend a bit of time outside on the pier catching a few more fish to meet the price tag. Eventually, I sold enough fish to purchase my new rod and a stack of bait along with it. Back up to the mountain lake I went, and I settled in for an afternoon filled with more fishing. It was going pretty well. Having a quicker bite rate with the bait on my rod meant I could catch more fish, and skill levels came with it too. But as night started to roll around, I migrated from the mountain lake down to the river. I wanted some time to try my luck catching some catfish, which, to my surprise, went pretty well. Usually it doesn't go so successfully, but I knocked another fishing level out of the park, which meant I got to choose the fisher perk for reaching level 5 fishing. Clint paid me a visit the next morning to show me all about furnaces. He gave me some blueprints to make my own, and I thought that was very nice of him. What's not so nice is having to water my crops again. I shouldn't complain though, because very soon I'll find out that watering 40 crops actually isn't too bad. But for now, it was nice to see Lady and Princess have grown into adult chickens, and I was a little embarrassed to read a letter from the Joja Corporation saying they provided medical care free of charge because I'm broke and have no money. But hey, you can't win them all. Instead, I sold all of the breams I had caught last night in the river to purchase an even bigger stack of bait. Then I fished away the day up at the mountain lake. Forgive me for not doing anything else, but fishing is all I've got at the moment, so leave me alone. I finished up early, however, to run all of my fish home. It took a couple of trips, and I had to ditch a few fish on the ground so I could collect up my chest and take it home. But in the early hours of the morning, I managed to safely escort all of my catches back to the farm, and I was happy to call it a day after that. I was visited by Marnie on day 5 asking if I wanted to adopt this cute little kitty. Of course I said yes, and I welcomed Midnight the cat to the farm. I was equally excited to see most of my parsnips ready for harvest. Instead of selling them right away, I kept them with me because it was time to expand our scope of activities with a little something that we like to call the mines. There was no time for mucking around. I got straight to work, heading down the ladder and starting my expedition. I made sure to mine up copper ore along the way, and I made it down to level 5 pretty quickly. My tactic was to store things away in this chest every 5 levels via the elevator I'd unlock. I only got a little distracted with this cute fashionable hat. In the afternoon, I got down to level 10. That evening, I pushed on to level 15 and got there with time to spare. So I kept going and even got down to level 20. To round out a very successful day in the mines, I ran home with a few materials I had collected, leaving the rest in the chest outside the elevator. I dumped all the fish I had caught into the shipping bin and smelted the copper ore into copper bars in the furnace. I have to say, for a bad luck day, I had a pretty great day. Waking up the next day, I picked the remaining parsnips that had grown a day late and cleared out debris to make room for an overhaul of potatoes. Lewis showed me the old community center, and look, I don't know what's more ridiculous, the Junimos gaslighting me or this large fashionable hat on my head. Either way, I read the unreadable scroll in the crafts room before taking off to Clint's. I was going to upgrade my pickaxe, but I forgot the copper bars. Not to worry, one quick detour home did the trick and my pickaxe went in for a copper upgrade. Circling around to Pierre's meant I could watch all of my hard-earned gold fly out the window as I blew it all on potato seeds. So for the next while I worked on setting up my field of potatoes. I got a little taste of what it'd be like to water 126 seeds. It sucks. Unlike the standard farm, the nearest water source is much further away. It's a whole thing. But hey, what can you do? That night I was walking through town and happened to spot this rat thing. I'm not too sure what it was, but I used up the rest of my time fishing in the river. On the other hand, day 7 was a lot less hectic. After watering my field of potatoes again, I gave up the day to fishing, with the intention of catching as many fish as I could to use as food in a couple of days. Although I did see that rat thing again on my way home. I'm starting to see it now as more of a raccoon or something? I don't know. Thank the good heavens for rain today. I have never been happier to see a field of watered crops that I didn't have to water. That meant I had the time and energy to collect eggs from our chicken friends and pop around to Clint the blacksmith. He had my pickaxe all ready for me to collect, and you bet I was ready to take this bad boy for a spin down in the mines. My plan stayed about the same, collect all the good resources on the way down and dump it all into the chest every 5 levels. The only noteworthy item I found were carrot seeds, one of 4 brand new crops added with the new update. So after a day's work hustling and bustling in the mines, I called it quits after making it down to level 35. As you can see, I've now got some furnaces set up to smelt ores when I'm down exploring. Efficiency is my middle name after all. It's not, I'm just kidding. I'll admit that the next day was pretty much a copy-paste of yesterday, watering potatoes followed by more cave diving. However, not everything was the same. A new item has appeared before us, and that item is a book. No, not a lost book, but another book. It's called The Monster Compendium, and it gave the small chance for monsters to drop double loot. I was pumped. As you can see, there are quite a few books for me to find around the valley, and as I continued down the mines, I wondered what special powers and abilities they'd give me. But it was getting late, so I decided to call it quits around level 50 and headed home for sleepy times. In fact, for the next few days I kept this daily routine up. Potato watering did take up a good chunk of the day, but that didn't stop me returning to the mines every day to make headway down to the bottom. Apart from finally picking and selling the potatoes on day 12, just as the day turned to afternoon, I had made my way down to level 80. The perfect floor to stop on and farm for gold. You see, I need gold in order to craft quality sprinklers, which I'm hoping to craft soon for the strawberry seeds that I'll be picking up at the Egg Festival. Before running headfirst into that though, I first had a visit from Demetrius. He was asking whether I wanted fruit bats or mushrooms grown in the farm cave. You know, I usually go for fruit bats, so this time I thought I'd be a little quirky and different, and I opted for the mushrooms this time. Then I took some time to plan out where my strawberries would go, figuring out how much land I had to work with, and placing down wooden paths as markers for my sprinklers. But I didn't want to miss the festival, so off I went. Here at the world famous and Stardew Valley Egg Festival is where you can look cute in this cardboard bunny cutout. It's where I can yet again burn all my hard-earned cash on more seeds, and it's where I can smoke Jazz, Vincent, Abigail, and Sam at the egg hunt. Get clowned on, you fools! Sorry about that. Some people have told me I have a very, very strong competitive spirit. Anyway. It was nice to see I had calculated the perfect amount of strawberry seeds to fill up my crop field. The only problem is I wasn't quite level 6 farming yet, which disregards the whole quality sprinkler plan until I actually get level 6, which yes does mean more tedious manual labor. Please just assume I'm doing this every morning for a while because that's how I start every day for the next about 8 days until they're ready for picking. Today was the first day I had visited the traveling cart. She visits every Friday and Sunday, and I'll be visiting often to see if she has any community center items for me. Just beyond the cart, I popped by the wizard's tower to go and get some advice about the unreadable scroll I found the other day. Alternatively, I got a mouthful of forest juice, I saw visions of the valley itself, and hey, would you look at that, I can now read Junimo. I would have preferred a Duolingo lesson, but hey. I guess this'll do. The first bundle I completed was the spring foraging bundle, and down at Pierre's I dropped past to purchase some spring crop seeds, which I then planted back on the farm. To round out the day, I went back to the usual mountain lake spot, so I could drop off a largemouth bass, a bullhead, and a carp to the lake fish bundle. Then continued south to catch a few more fish and collected up some beach forage, all to hand over to the fish tank bundles in the community center. Like I said, you know how day 15 started. To my surprise, when entering the farm cave for the first time, I found a new machine called the dehydrator alongside my mushrooms. It can dehydrate fruits and forage, but I wondered how profitable it'll be considering it takes 5 items at once. While I waited to find out, I mooched around the valley making use of the salmonberry season, and picked up loose forage I found too. Back on the farm that evening, I placed down a second scarecrow just to cover my bases, and I stood in the field of strawberries, contemplating all of my life choices up until this point. But that didn't last long though, because it's day 16 and we have things to do. The rain really picked up my mood, I'm sure you can guess why. I found out this morning mushrooms no longer regenerate every day. There's a much longer cooldown period before you can pick more, and you know, I think that's fair enough. But I'm starting to second guess my choice of mushrooms over fruit bats. For a short while I went back to the mines to get myself some copper ore, which I then smelted into copper bars and turned over to Clint to get an upgrade on my axe. With nothing much else to do, I parked up on the pier and decided to fish my troubles away. I found in Willie's shop you can now change your bobber style. Ah, that's so cool. There's so many to unlock. I bet some of them are really cool. I'm getting way too excited about this, but I love it! Later on, I changed locations to the river to catch a few different types of fish while it was still raining. And I handed over a catfish, a shad, a sardine, and an eel to some of the tankfish bundles. I reserved most of day 17 to ore farming down in the mines. I thought I might as well since I've got quality sprinklers to craft soon, only taking a break late in the day to pay my first visit to the Adventurers Guild. Here I can see my Monster Slayer goals and access Marlin's shop, but that didn't take too much of my time, so it was back to collecting ore and making my way further down in the mines. The following day brought with it my brand new copper axe. Having an upgraded axe meant I could now chop down the stumps on my farm for hardwood, and pairing that hardwood with some normal wood and a bit of stone gave me the items I needed to complete the construction bundle in the community centre. Finishing that bundle unlocked the boiler room scroll, and because I had made it so far down in the mines already, I practically had every item anyway. So without wasting much time, I ticked off all 3 bundles that the boiler room scroll asked for, and I restored my first part of the centre. As I went to bed that night, I got to see the Junimos having a wee boogie. Well, repairing the minecarts, but the idea of them having a wee boogie is much better. And with the minecarts access readily available for me to use now, the minecarts aided my efforts of returning everything from the mines back to the farm. As the afternoon rolled around, I killed time by checking the travelling cart, which had nothing of interest, collecting eggs from my coop, watching Midnight sprawled out on the ground, super cute might I add, and wrapped up the day fishing out on the pier. If you're wondering, yes, I still have to water strawberries. I love it so much. I had a few things to tick off my mental to-do list today. That sounded better in my head. The first being to buy a few salads at the saloon. I needed a better source of energy, and salads are my go-to option. Next was to collect more beach forage, but it was as bare as my granddad's bald head. So instead I headed back to the mines to continue my journey to the bottom and collect resources along the way. I did manage to get a crab down there, so I was happy to hand that into the community centre on my way home that night. There's a new vendor in town today, and I am excited. Up a path, just above the Joja Mart, sat a man who sells books, promptly named the Bookseller. Marcelo and his great big balloon offers books for an extraordinary price. Holy moly, I definitely don't have the gold for that just yet, but the abilities these books offer are quite exciting. Some offer skill experience points, others offer the ability to run faster, more speed while on a horse, more speed when running through crops. Oh, it's all just so exciting. I can even trade in books I find for items. It's just a shame that I have no books, nor money to spare, but I'd be back, Marcelo, mark my words. After turning in a muscle to the community centre and checking the travelling cart, I filled my night strolling around the valley under the stars. I actually came across a new item, moss. I'm not too sure what it's used for, so I'll keep collecting it until I do. Oh, what a happy sight it was to see my strawberries ripe for picking. Thankfully, this harvest did push me over to level 6 farming, meaning Operation Quality Sprinklers was a go. The only problem was I'd get it overnight, which meant, ironically, I still had to water them. But knowing I wouldn't have to soon made it a little easier. Lady and Princess were now producing large eggs for me, and they made a great addition to the animal bundle in the community centre. I then watched Morris, the Joja representative, yoink away all of Pierre's customers. Let me just say, karma's a bitch, Morris. Karma's a bitch. I was actually here to get a backpack upgrade. Can't a man splurge a little sometimes? I think I deserved it. I actually went back to the mines later on to pass the time. I'm glad I did, because when I landed on level 100, I picked out my first star drop from the chest waiting for me. That's a bit weird. The taste reminds me of subscribers? Make of that what you will. The feeling of full pockets of cash and placing quality sprinklers down made day 23 my favourite day so far. It was my goal today to stock up on copper ore for future tappers, and in the process I knocked off my first monster slayer goal. That was a nice added bonus to the day, so I spent most of the day getting the copper ore I needed. It was later in the day when I returned home satisfied with my effort, and I smelted all of it in my furnaces. Using these tappers on a maple, oak and pine tree will in return give me some maple syrup, oak resin, and pine tar, all of which I need for community centre bundles. And while we wait for them to produce the goods, I got to work clearing away more debris from around the farm. The 24th of spring does mean it's the Flower Dance Festival. However, previous experiences has taught me that the only thing waiting for me there is rejection, and I ain't gonna put myself through that again. Instead, I spent time for myself down at the beach, where I found my first artifact, and some summer squash seeds, a new summer crop. I got comfy on the pier and I fished the day away. I would much rather be here than at some stupid dance. Who needs him, eh? I've got my pal Willie. I picked a couple of carrots this morning. Yeah, I totally forgot I planted these. In more exciting news, I found myself back in the mines today, diving down level by level, slowly but surely getting closer to the bottom. I made sure to grab everything valuable as I went, as per usual, and by the time I had called it quits, I had made it down to level 115. So close, but alas, I'll leave that for another day. By day 26, my spring crops had all grown to harvest, and I was content in using them for the spring crops bundle over in town. The travelling cart was yet again refusing to offer me anything good, so instead I wandered over to see Gunther at the museum. Now, I don't usually make my museum look good.
Oh my god.
Which is kind of rich coming from me, but with a screenshot on my phone, I got to placing my first minerals and artifacts down and following what another person had done. I promise you, I'm not that smart, but by the end it'll look amazing, I promise. I got Clint to smash open some geodes I had been hoarding from my adventures down at the mines just to get a few extra additions, and of course back to the museum I went to donate them in the name of preservation. Afterwards I retired back to the farm to clear more debris. Robin got a visit from me shortly after where I bought a bunch of pathway crafting recipes, and I collected forage? I'm not too sure why I did that. With the sun now gone, I look like a madman rambling on about the end of the world, but I promise you, I'm just planning out the future of the farm layout in my head, like a normal person. Another round of strawberries greeted me this morning, and what a great day it is to be me. I could just smell the profits with every strawberry that I picked. I noticed that Lady and Princess had now been living in a pen full of debris for 27 days straight. Not a very prim and proper environment to be thriving in now, is it? Actually, I should mention this new grass type called blue grass. It's special to the Meadowlands farm, unless you purchase blue grass starter from Key way later in the game. Animals that eat blue grass gain friendship points twice as fast, and animals eat half the amount of tufts compared to regular grass. So there's a fun fact for those who wanted to know. Now you know. I then dropped off a chewing stick to the museum. I dropped off a lost axe to Robin. That's why I collected forage last night. It all makes sense now. And decided to clear the final levels of the mine. It didn't take me long, and before I knew it, I had dropped on to level 120, where I collected the skull key. I ended up heading to bed early that night, because it is already the final day of spring. Time flies when you're making good profit, having fun. The travelling cart proved itself worthy this morning. She was selling a red cabbage. The red cabbage is a crop that doesn't become available until year 2. So to have that in my inventory in spring of year 1 is a major win. I didn't want to hand it over just yet, however. I took things a step further by catching a chub up at the mountain lake and mining up a frozen geode from the mines. Then after gathering a few things from the farm, I took off to the community centre to make money moves. The exotic foraging bundle was immediately ticked off my list. The dye bundle got 3 items added to it, including the red cabbage, and finally the field research bundle got 3 items also. In reflection, I think this is probably one of the best first springs I've ever had. 46,000 gold to my name, and a great crop field set up already. Things weren't looking too shabby. But I didn't have much time to reflect because it was already summer. Things are heating up here in the valley because it's time for summer. Usually I'd be racing to Pierre's by now, but I had been waiting to modify the sprinkler placement in favor of aesthetics for a while now. So I got to work and reposition them in the field. Pleased with the new setup, I popped by Pierre's in town to get my seeds, which included 144 blueberry seeds, a poppy and a sunflower seed, 16 melon seeds, 16 basic fertilizer, and finally the summer crop seeds. I then ran them all the way home where I got to planting. The blueberry seeds took up every inch of the first field, so I had to carve out another space nearby in order to plant the other seeds. I got it done by nightfall and I was all set for a great summer. Moving on to the following day, I handed over some oak resin to the community centre. I did some fishing off the pier for a while, handed over a prehistoric tool to Gunther at the museum, got in some more fishing, this time in the river, and continued that trend up to the mountain lake to do more fishing. Don't get the idea it was all for nothing though. I handed over most of the fish I had caught to the fish tank bundles. In doing so, I ticked off the lake fish bundle. There was time still left in the day, however, time that can be productive. So I went for a wander around the valley, picking up the forage I came across. Luckily, it was everything I needed to complete the summer forage bundle. You may be wondering what I'm trying to do here. Well, this chicken is trying to move out of the way. However, its pathing decided to move it up rather than down. You see, I could trap it with my coop, but that wouldn't be very nice. I just want to move over the coop so I can fit in a barn. Ah, there we go. Wait a minute. I can move my house? And my shipping bin? Okay. Look, now my house is in the middle of the farm. I was so excited that I threw everything I was going to do today out the window to redecorate and move everything over from my new house location. I also got the big chest recipe while I was at Robin's this morning. And look, I have big chests now. Please don't take that out of context. This update just keeps providing, and I love it! As you can imagine, my night was spent organizing everything back into my new chests from the old ones. I have to admit, yesterday was very exciting, but it's time to get back to business. No more fooling around. I began the day clearing out more trees and rocks from around the farm before visiting Robin's again to get that barn commissioned. I then dropped off some maple syrup for the chef's bundle and spent the rest of the day assembling a tree farm. I usually make a tree farm to tap them for resources, mainly oak resin for kegs. And as a bonus, I got to fill the empty space up here where the house used to be. Is this green rain? Is it raining green right now? You heard me right. What is going on in the valley right now? It seems this green rain has brought with it a whole new range of fauna, wild bushes that can be broken for fiber and moss, and crazy looking trees. It even fast-tracked growing some of the trees in my newly constructed tree farm. This strange phenomenon has spread all throughout the whole valley. The cindersap forest was covered in it. While chopping through bushes, I got a mossy seed, which I will keep a hold of. I also found these fern trees that drop fiddlehead ferns when chopped down. Circling around into town, I found most of the township hiding away in the saloon. Some were confused, some weren't worried at all, and here I was just walking around in it. The creepiest place to be was the mines. Why does it look like this? But not to worry, the next day all had been reverted back to normal. The only remnants of the green rain was the moss stuck to my trees. Up at the mountain lake, I had a crab pot placed down because I needed one more crab pot item to finish the bundle. So forgive me if I was a little annoyed at getting some trash. Never to mind, I put all the frustration into chopping down trees in the cindersap forest for wood. I found a book that gave me extra farming experience, and a little later on I got an iridium breastplate from tree chopping. I think it really brings out my eyes. But I also had an oak end table. How one gets a book, an iridium breastplate, and an oak end table stuck in a tree baffles me. But hey, we just had green rain yesterday, so I guess I can't complain. Sometimes there are just no explanations. Day 35 began waiting outside Marnie's ranch. Old viewers will know me as a sarcastic, overly patient, but not really patient farmer. But I've changed. I exchanged some of my cash with Marnie to purchase a cow for my newly constructed barn, who I named Piggy. Across the way at the travelling cart, I bought an apple she was selling. I need about 4 for the community centre, so 1 is a good start. Afterwards, I stopped off at the mines to farm the higher levels for copper. I'm gonna need a bunch of it for all the tappers I'll be crafting soon, so it's no surprise that this is where I spent the rest of my day. Overnight, I saw a crop fairy come and sprinkle some magic over my blueberries, and that was very nice of her. I got to put that copper to use the following morning, tapping a bunch of trees in my tree farm. And afterwards, I paid Robin a visit to commission an upgrade for my coop. Down in the town, I popped by the museum to donate another dwarf scroll, and my crab pot had finally caught something that wasn't trash. The crayfish I used for the crab pot bundle tied it all together, and another bundle was ticked off. It turns out I had depleted most of my wood stock on the tappers this morning, so I tried to make up for that by chopping down more trees around the valley as the day started to wrap up. The rain was pouring the next day, accompanied by some thunder and lightning. I thought I'd better craft and place down some lightning rods to catch some of the lightning bolts. Mostly to protect the crops, but also to get some batteries for the near future. Marcelo the bookseller was back again today, however my lack of funds made it very hard to purchase any books. Maybe another day, Marcelo. Maybe another day. Down at the beach, I made it my mission to catch a red snapper. It took me a couple of tries, but we got one eventually. I then caught a ghost fish on level 20 of the mines. I picked my 2 flowers, the poppy and the sunflower, back on the farm, gathered a single fiddlehead fern on the way out, and donated them all to the community centre cause. The red snapper was also the last fish I needed to complete the ocean fish bundle. Speaking of ocean fish, I caught more of them on the pier into the night for more money in my pocket. This morning I picked the fairy grown blueberries because by the time they're ready again, all of the others will be too. And I won't argue about a little extra profit. I popped by Marnie's as she opened up her shop to purchase myself Philip the Duck, now that the upgraded coop allowed for more animals. And after waiting for iron ore to smelt into iron bars, I used some of them over at Clint's to get an upgrade for my axe. But I noticed that I was lacking basic materials in the mining chest, so to remedy that I used up what time I had left in the day down in the mines, slaying dust sprites for coal and mining iron whenever I came across it. As I went to get some sleep that night, a broomstick flying witch flew over my coop and dropped a curse on it. Well, less of a curse, more of a void egg situation. You really got me with that one, Miss Witch. Luckily, the big coop comes with an incubator, so I put the eggs safely inside, and sure enough, in time, I'll have my very own void chicken. While we waited for our friend to hatch, it was back to the mines. This time, I stayed around the copper levels to, of course, collect copper ore. I think because I had planned to make more kegs for fall, it meant I needed lots of copper and iron, which makes a lot of sense as to why I'm spending a lot of time down here. I took a much needed break from the mines on day 40. My head was starting to spin from all of the dust. My morning was spent buying an orange from the traveling cart, donating a couple of artifacts I had found over the last couple of days, collecting my iron axe from Clint, and using it to gain access to the secret woods. In the secret woods are stumps that regrow every day and they give you hardwood, and the wood skip fish, which I caught from the pond. After scavenging the beach for all of its forage, I took a few things to hand off to the community centre, including the wood skip, a sea urchin, and the apple and orange I actually put towards the artisan bundle. As for what I spent the night doing, truthfully, it was spent smelting ores. I should note I got a preserve jar going to make some jelly though. The thunderstorms may be back, but that wouldn't hinder my good mood seeing my melons ready for harvest. I ended up getting 4 gold star melons, and for the quality crops bundle I need 5. I didn't pick this one because it's for the summer crops, but I kept a single melon just in case that one melon happens to be gold quality. I had also managed to reach level 7 foraging last night, giving me the crafting recipe for tree fertilizer. So I slapped a bunch of that on the trees still yet to grow in my tree farm. I wasn't taking any chances with the melons though. I was happy to plant another round just to be sure. What proceeded was fishing away the day in the rain. When in doubt, fish it out, as I always say. I've actually never said that. I awoke to a sea of blue on day 42. I'm blue, dubba-dee, dubba-die. I collected batteries and picked a field full of blueberries. You also won't believe this, but the one melon I left and didn't pick yesterday actually was a gold quality melon. What are the chances? Seriously, what are the chances? Thank goodness I kept an extra one. Over in the community centre, I handed over the 5 gold melons and completed the summer crops bundle. The blueberries I sold straight to Pierre's because who can be bothered waiting a whole day for profits, am I right? I'm shocked to say the travelling cart yet again sold me something worthwhile. She sold me a truffle, which would save me 16 grand now that I didn't need a pig. I handed that to the chef's bundle right away. Back at Pierre's for the second time today, I got myself some wheat seeds and a couple of fruit tree saplings, and back on the farm I popped down the apple and pomegranate trees, then planted the wheat seeds down next to the growing melons. Continuing on, I paid a visit to Robin again and got a deluxe coop upgrade commissioned, and I rounded out the day fishing down in the ocean. When in doubt, fish it out. Yeah, now I'm trying to turn it into a thing and it's a little embarrassing. I figured out a good use for moss. Combining it with regular bait gives you deluxe bait, and I used that bait to go mining. No, silly, I'm just kidding. To go fishing, of course. When in doubt, fish it. No, I'm sorry, I'll stop. I noticed I was close to level 10 fishing, so I fished until I hit it. Then I kept on fishing after that all the way until bedtime. Of course, I chose the angler perk to make the fish worth more, and I waited specifically to have that perk unlocked before selling all the fish I'd caught over the last couple of days. See? I'm not just a pretty face. I took care of a couple of admin tasks, like giving the jelly I had made to the artisan bundle and donating some glass shards to the museum. Then I checked in on my animals. Don't think because I hardly mention it that I'm not doing it. I take good care of my animals, thank you very much. I even added another to the family by purchasing it from Marnie, Martha the rabbit. Back home, I took some time to chop down trees for wood, which I used for more tappers, and I tapped a few more trees that had grown. Now, because all the wood went towards the tappers, you bet I went back to chopping more trees down. It's a never-ending cycle, I swear. But I got enough to make my first lot of kegs, which I put down just below the blueberry fields. On day 45, my wheat was already grown for harvest, and our void chicken friend finally hatched. I named him Bert. To the community centre is where I headed next. I handed over an egg that Philip had laid to the animal bundle, and the wheat and hay went to the fodder bundle. Surprise, surprise, I found myself back at the beach. You know what I want to say, and I want to say it too, but I'm not going to. When in doubt. Another round of blueberries was ready for harvest the following morning. The sound just itches my brain. Does anyone else get that feeling? I chucked a few into my kegs because hey, why the heck not? And the rest of them I shoved into the shipping bin. Since Piggy was giving me large jugs of milk now, I was happy to spare one to the animal bundle in the community centre. Marcelo was back yet again. I did have more funds this time, but I wanted to save them for more urgent purchases. So unfortunately, Marcelo did not get any business from me today. Instead, I donated a strange doll I fished up yesterday to the museum, tapped the final trees left to tap back home, and went fishing again. My bobber is a duck, by the way. It's been like that for a while now, but I thought it was important to mention. From the crop harvests and fishing, the dough in my pocket was racking up. So what better way to spend it all than on the vault bundles in the community centre? 42,500 gold gone just like that, but it was for a worthy cause. While I was chopping down trees later on, I came across a sign in the Cindersap forest. It was about a trout derby coming up over the next couple of days. You'd think I'd be done with fishing, considering the amount of time I've spent doing it, but nope. You'd be wrong. The trout derby was in full swing when I got down there this morning. I joined in on the edge of the river and I got to work. The goal is to try and catch rainbow trout. When you do, you get a chance at finding a golden tag. These golden tags can be exchanged for prizes at the derby booth. It was a riveting experience, battling it out against my fellow competitors. Overall, I caught 8 rainbow trout and I walked away with 2 golden tags. The first I traded in earlier for a tent kit, and the second one I got 3 mystery boxes in return. The trout derby ended at 2, so I used the rest of the day to get a big barn upgrade commission from Robbins. I opened the mystery boxes at Clint's and got some fairly regular items. I replaced the decaying wood fences around the animal area with hardwood fences, and I put some milk in a cheese press. Just outside the bus stop the next day, I dug up some broccoli seeds, a new fall crop I figured out because I can read. And I'm super smart. The cheese I ran up to the community centre and added it to the artisan bundle. And afterwards I took my first trip out to the desert via the newly renovated bus service, all thanks to completing the vault bundles. I was both terrified and confused as to what this skull looking thing was. I'm just here to unlock the skull caverns, please don't hurt me. The desert trader has all the usual stock and a few extra new items added to the list. I met Sandy at the Oasis shop. I noticed she sells mannequins now, and that sounds like a fun venture for a seasoned decorator like myself. All in good time, however, I caught myself a sandfish from the desert pond before taking the bus back to the valley, which I of course immediately took to the community centre and finished the special fish bundle. I then finished up the day back down in the mines. I probably needed more materials for gigs. It is day 50, a day to celebrate with hard work and focus. I'm still grinding away here, people. That included such activities like blueberry picking, completing the animal bundle with one of Martha's tufts of wool, and collecting more keg-related materials from the mines. If anything, the day was celebrated by Mr. Key dropping mystery boxes from a biplane. That's right, you heard me. Look at him go. That's an ominous message for something that's kind of fun. I don't know, put some fireworks behind it or something at least. A lot of this morning was taken up smelting ores and standing unnervingly still. I promise you, I was just working out more farm layout stuff in my head. Or I went to get food and I forgot to pause the game. Who knows at this point? Truthfully, this is what I did all day. You know, sometimes it takes a while for things to settle properly in my head, but when it does, You know it's gonna be good. Breaking news, my duck is swimming in the river. I repeat, Philip is being a class 5 cutie and swimming in the river. That's it for breaking news, back to the regular scheduled programs. I got Clint to open up a few geodes so I could slowly add on to the museum collection that's somewhat taking shape now. Afterwards, I went back to the farm and waited for my blueberry wine to be ready. Notice how they're the same color as the fruit now? A very nice touch. I shipped all but one bottle, as that was to be relinquished to the Enchanter's bundle. Back home on the farm, I decided to start laying out some paths and getting an idea of what works and what doesn't. It was a small portion of the farm itself, but it's a pretty good start. By this point in summer, I'm now gearing up for the change in seasons, and that included expanding the crop field now below my house. If I wanted to make the big bucks, I better have the space and sprinklers to accommodate it. I basically repeated the other field, but I just did it going down rather than across. So it's foolproof, except when I missed a line on the bottom, but hey. Pretty good for a guy with 950 hours of Stardew under his belt. To ensure these fields would be primed for the fall season, I filled them with a bunch of wheat, perfectly timed to be ready on the first day of fall. The last harvest of blueberries were ready to be picked this morning. An added bonus was that I got level 10 farming from this harvest. I hate to say it, but the only things that happened today were giving up a rabbit's foot to the Enchanter's bundle and placing down more kegs, plus choosing the artisan perk for getting level 10 farming. Of course. I can't say day 55 was any more exciting. I changed my bobber style to a slime, made a bunch of deluxe bait, and I fished the whole day. At least the paycheck was worth it. Yet again, we are at the end of another season, and although it's sad to see it go by so quickly, we still had things to do. Things like turning in a duck feather to finish the dye bundle, clearing out this patch of land across the river, and finding a note on my late grandpa's grave, getting a rare seed from the travelling cart to grow in the fall, and last but not least, attend a festival that we like to call the Moonlight Jellies. As the light of summer fades away, we watch the Moonlight Jellies visit the beach once a year, and we indulge our ears in musical brilliance. Would you believe it, but we are now in my favourite season, fall. First up on today's cards was to sort out the crop situation, which included prepping the fields from last season, popping by PS to purchase all my seeds, then getting them all planted back down on the farm. Second was to make some goat cheese in a cheese press and to take it into town. I just need one more artisan good to finish the bundle, but that would have to wait because I needed my beauty sleep. Before I knew it, it was already the next day. Arriving in town that morning, I found Robin and Lewis putting up the special quests board. These quests are going to be great for keeping me busy this fall season. And the first one I picked was the Cave Patrol quest from Clint. Down in the river, I caught one of the final fish I needed for the fish tank, a tiger trout, and across at Clint's, I handed over my hoe to Clint for an upgrade. On the farm that afternoon, I put a piece of wool through a loom, and I turned it into a piece of cloth. That cloth I then took to the community center, and I finally ticked off the artisan bundle. Afterwards, I popped by the mines to make a start on the Cave Patrol quest, and I didn't come back out again until the late hours of the night. I found Emily at my door this morning. She somehow sensed I had found or made wool by now. I made it yesterday. How did you know that? Who are you working for? She just wanted to let me know I could use her sewing machine. So that's nice, I guess. Quick side note, I can see all my animals in the menu. I didn't know that. Very cool. Anyway, sorry. There's not much else to say except I went back to the mines for dust sprite slaying and keg material collecting. After a short wait for Clint's to open on day 60, I got to swap out my copper hoe for a copper watering can upgrade. I thought I might as well get them all upgraded while I didn't really need them. Shortly afterwards, I went around the valley collecting any forage I could find. Fortunately, I managed to find at least one of this season's bounty, which meant I could finish the fall foraging bundle. Later on, I found myself back in the mines, just to finish off Clint's quest, and I did get it done. So I had some time left over to watch the glow of my furnaces as they smelted ores into bars. My reward for completing my first special quest was a crafting recipe for a geode crusher. Now I did think the update changed how these machines worked. Maybe I'll have to look into it later. But for now, I paid a visit to the travelling cart. who once again was providing beyond expectation this playthrough. She sold me a pomegranate. Before you ask, yes, I am growing a pomegranate tree already, but who am I going to say no to getting one now? I ran it all the way to the community center and finished my second bundle from the bulletin board bundles. I then spent some time chopping down trees for wood so that I could take a stack of it up to Robin's. I needed an upgrade on my house, and an upgrade is exactly what I got. I continued to chop trees down for wood for the rest of the night, because wood is a hot commodity right now, and I really don't feel like blowing all of my hard-earned cash buying it. The following day, I just happened to be mooching around town when I found a prize ticket waiting for me by the special quests board. I took it into Lewis's house just like it said, and there's a little machine there to redeem prizes for completing a quest. I have to admit, I like this addition very much. Down at the beach, I passed by Willie's shop to get me an iridium fishing rod, and my third visit to Clint this week had me swapping out my watering can for a steel pickaxe upgrade. Back home, I decided to watch over Robin as she worked. Not in a creepy way, just thought she'd like some company. Aww. I actually took a bus ride out to the desert because I had been doing some research, and it turns out yes you can trade spring seeds for winter seeds at the desert trader. So I'll keep these nicely tucked away for when I get the greenhouse up and running. I did a lot of fishing on day 63. I wish I could say more happened, but I can't. So let's move on to the next one. I'm back at Clint's yet again, picking up my steel pickaxe and swapping it out for a steel hoe upgrade. I then paid a visit to Robin and commissioned a fish pond to be built on the farm. I used a new sonar bobber to see what fish I was catching in the river, so I knew exactly when I was catching a walleye. An important fish to get my hands on because it was the last one I needed to complete the fish tank. I ticked off another renovated room in the community center, and I have to point this out, but the fish tank is actually a real fish tank now. I can show off all of my best catches to everyone who visits. I also didn't know this, but Junimos follow you around after finishing a golden scroll, and I just think that's super cute. Now that I had a kitchen in my farmhouse, I could become the chef I was always destined to be. And that started with making a fried egg and a maki roll, two dishes I needed to finish off the chef's bundle at the community center. Being a new week meant new special quests on the board. I accepted Robin's resource rush, which tasked me to get 1000 wood. I won't lie though, the Cindersap forest was looking a little bare, but I did manage to get a fair bit of wood from it. It was that night I met up with Willie by the mine entrance and received one of his spare copper pans. I think I have use for this for something, but I'm not too sure. This is not a drill, people. My cat can wear hats. Midnight in a hat. It's midnight in a hat! With my fish pond now built, I popped in an oyster of all things. A weird choice to some, but for me I knew I needed a nautilus shell, a beach forage item that only spawns in winter. But if the oyster pond population gets to 9 before winter, then there's a chance of them producing a nautilus shell. So now we just wait. Okay, but we should do other things to pass the time, like swapping out my steel hoe for a steel pan upgrade? What? Okay, I went with the steel watering can upgrade, but I will be back to upgrade my pan. As for the rest of the day, I actually took a bus to the desert and spent it down in the Skull Caverns. I took my time slaying monsters and collecting resources, but I managed to get down pretty far, getting low enough to mine some iridium nodes, where I ended up finding my first prismatic shard. I just don't want this day to end. But unfortunately it did, because it's already the next day. In my mailbox was a letter and 10,000 gold from Mr. Key for getting past level 25 in the caverns. I won't say no to that. Over in town, I got to donate a couple of artifacts to the museum I found while exploring yesterday. Circling around to Piers, I used Key's 10,000 gold on the final backpack upgrade, and I took my prismatic shard all the way back out to the desert, so I could use it to get the infamous Galaxy Sword. And while I was out there, I managed to find another book with the ability for +1 defense, and I took out all the trees for wood towards Robin's quest. A bus ride took me back to the gloomy day in the valley, and I spent my time sheltered from the rain down in the mines, collecting resources for kegs. And funnily enough, I got my second prismatic shard. Just before bedtime, I got to put down a few more kegs on the farm, and I got some much needed rest. Day 68 consisted of donating that prismatic shard I stumbled upon yesterday to Gunther, getting my steel watering can pan back from Clint, chopping down what little trees there were growing in the Cindersap forest, and finding Midnight with her chic hat lying down in my field of pumpkins, like the Class A cutie patootie that she is. To be honest, I actually wasn't far off from finishing Robin's quest, so I ventured south once again and destroyed half-grown trees for the little amount of wood they give. This situation seemed dire, but I'll tell you what, it worked. After handing over my copper pan to be upgraded by Clint, I found another prize ticket waiting for me by the board. I used it to get an orange sapling from the prize machine, and to finish up the day, well, if I'm ever in doubt, I think you know what I do. I awoke to a wonderful sight this morning, my fields full of ready to harvest pumpkins, and my ears were starting to ring with the sound of profits. After picking them all, I didn't sell any of them because they were all going to be turned into pumpkin juice. Over at Pierre's, I had to sell my gold quality pumpkins for a bit of cash so that I could afford a second round of seeds. And back on the farm, I went around planting them all down. I then went back to the Skull Caverns to fill the rest of the day. The day after that, my corn was also ready to harvest, and now I had everything to complete the pantry. 5 gold quality pumpkins and 5 gold quality corn finished off the quality crops bundle, and a pumpkin, an eggplant, a yam, and a corn finished off the fall crops bundle. The pantry was now back to the way it once was, and I only had 2 scrolls left to fulfill. Down at Clint's, I picked up my shiny new steel pan and decided to bus out to the desert because I wanted to explore the caverns yet again. If you're wondering why, it's because I want to get as much iridium as I can for future projects. Actually, I was able to smelt 7 bars that night when I got home, and I got to see the greenhouse being brought back to life thanks to our Junimo friends. The 16th of fall can only mean that it's Valley Fair Day. Before taking off, I had to hand over some clay to the oysters. I'm not sure what they'll use that for, but if it means I get the Nautilus shell, then I will take it. And I got a bunch of items for my Grange display. In Pelican Town Square, the Valley Fair was in full swing. Lewis went along judging our Grange displays, and surprisingly, I actually won it. Yay! Which gave me a new achievement with the update called Blue Ribbon. To get some more star tokens, I played the fishing minigame, then gambled it all on green at the wheel spinner. I had to gamble for more tokens than usual, because there was an extra prize ticket to get along with the usual Rare Crow and Star Drop. I'd say that was a pretty successful day at the fair. After a whole season of growing, my fruit trees were bearing fruit finally. That meant I could drop off 3 apples to the community center, completing yet another bundle. Afterwards, I accepted Linus's community cleanup quest, and I popped into Lewis's to use the prize ticket machine. I got some mixed flower seeds. Level 100 in the mines is notorious for being filled with trash, and I thought it would be an easy way to finish Linus's quest. It was. And back to Lewis's I went to hand over yet another prize ticket. This one gave me some mystery boxes. Back on the farm with my brand new greenhouse ready for use, I popped down an iridium sprinkler and hoed out a spot for my winter seeds. Yes, that's right, you can hop around while hoeing dirt. It looks super goofy, but it's also super handy. I got my winter seeds planted down and sprinkled a bit of speed grow. Why? Well, because I'm a super patient farmer. The first round of pumpkin juice was ready today, so I started my morning collecting it up and dumping a second load into the kegs. I found a note in my mailbox from Linus with the crafting recipe for fiber seeds, my reward for finishing his quest. Beyond the farm, I headed to the secret woods to chop down stumps for hardwood. I should note I'll be doing this pretty much every day from now on until the end of the season, because I need a lot of it for a particular in the near future project. By now I had collected quite a few mystery boxes, so I thought I'd get Clint to open them all. I got a range of things, from food to seeds to bombs and all the way to a mystery themed hat. Just call me the Riddler. But I don't want to talk about what I did for the rest of the day, because truthfully I cosplayed a statue and I did nothing. So let's move on to day 75. It was a day spent back in the Skull Caverns. I wanted to make use of a very good luck day, so I slayed monsters and I hunted for more iridium along the way. However, one exciting thing did happen. I managed to get my hands on a dino egg. I made sure to incubate this precious artifact so that we can have our very own dino friend. I found Granny Evelyn on my doorstep the following morning. She was here to tell me about the fascinating world of garden pots, and was kind enough to give me my own garden pot. After Evelyn left, I waited ever so patiently outside of Clint's. That was so I could get my pan a gold upgrade. Screw upgrading my tools. It's me. Of course the pan gets priority. As the day was wrapping up, I got to constructing more paths through the farm. You'll notice the pond got moved, and so did the greenhouse. It's starting to take shape, but all in good time, my friends. A decorator has their processes. I noticed something peculiar this morning. Last night a big gust of wind blew through, and suddenly, this morning I found a big tree stump in the cindersap forest. I need 100 pieces of hardwood to fix it up, but I'm sure I won't forget about it, right? That is definitely not in my nature. Truth be told, most of today I spent working on sprucing up my chest area. It wasn't until the next day that I managed to finish it off, and I was pretty happy with it actually. Not to mention I sorted out another round of pumpkin juice. For each batch I get 57,000 gold, by the way. We're gonna be that rich kind of rich, you know what I mean? Now that I had more chests, I did a bit of organizing. My brain just works way better when everything has its place. Then to finish off the day, I went back to the mines and farmed for copper. You see, even wealthy farmers have to gather their own resources sometimes. We just got a letter, I wonder who it's from. It's a very exciting letter today from Marnie. She wrote to me saying that I can have multiple pets. Oh my God. All I need is another pet bowl from Robin and I could get one, which is very exciting, and I will be doing that as soon as I can. For now, my winter seeds had grown in fall. It's a weird sentence to be saying, but anyway, nonetheless, it's true. To the community center I went, and I ticked off the last of the crafts room bundle. One down, only one scroll to go. Go Junimos, go Junimos, go Junimos. Yeah. With the quarry now accessible, I took a lot of time today clearing it out. I was lacking on materials, and this was a big help. I'm also not too sure if these coal nodes are new. I cannot ever remember seeing them, so I assume they're new to 1.6. However, if they're not, please let me know in the comments below. After polishing off the quarry, I potted down to the blacksmith to pick up my sparkling gold pan. Dare I say, it's a thing of beauty. Nearby, at the special quests board, I picked up Gunther's fragments of the past quest to collect 100 bone fragments, and I just decided to call it a day after that. Awaiting me in my crop fields this morning was a lone sweet gem berry. It's been growing all season, and I've only just been able to pick it now. But it's been worth the wait because taking it to the Master Cannoli statue in the secret woods gave me my second star drop. I did have a special quest to complete on the other hand, so to the mines I went and stayed for the day, slaying not only my outfit, but skeletons for bone fragments too. I even knocked off another monster slayer goal. A third round of pumpkin juice needed collecting on day 82. I've got to wait one more day for my pumpkins to be ready, so I didn't keg any more juice today. I also found this cool trick where you can place a big chest in place of a normal one without having to take all of the stuff out and put it all back. Not important, but I thought you'd like to know. After donating the final dwarf scroll to the museum, I went back to the mines to continue my quest of collecting bone fragments. This continued to the next day as I didn't get enough yesterday. I did of course harvest all of my pumpkins and keg a few of them, but in the mid-afternoon I got the final few fragments needed and I went back home to hang out with Midnight for a while. She may not speak much, but she's great company. I was just burning time because it was the Spirits Eve festival that night. A Stardew veteran like myself can zip through the hedge maze with little complications. I got my golden pumpkin at the end, and I tell you what, it was kinda nice to have a shortcut all the way back to the start. It does pain me to say that we're already on the final day of fall. The rain is really symbolic of my mood, but alas, we still have things to do before the seasons change, such as giving my oysters a solar essence. I don't think they'll be giving me a nautilus shell before winter, I'm afraid. Paying a visit to Gunther to donate a chicken statue, and handing over the bone fragments he requested. The prize machine at Lewis's gave me a star drop tea, which seems to make a great gift for any villager. Up at Robin's, I commissioned a silo to be built beside my animal area. I found and gave back Linus's basket he lost a while past blackberry season, but hey, better now than never. I donated an arrowhead artifact I dug up at the mountains to Gunther right after that, and I watched the final hours of light from the porch of my farmhouse. I really don't want to leave fall, please don't cut it. Oh, thank God, he actually didn't cut. 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 He actually didn't cut My toes are feeling a little nippy, which must mean it's winter time. Unfortunately, not a lot can grow in winter. The one thing I do know will grow is winter seeds. Another thing to note is grass days during winter now. Later on in town, I popped by the special quest board and picked up Emily's Rock Rejuvenation quest, and I got to see firsthand the new winter outfits the villagers wear. Looking good, Marnie, looking good. Beside the bus stop, I ran into a familiar shadowy character. Following the footsteps up to the playground led me to finding him behind a bush. So he threw a magnifying glass at me and ran away. With it, I can now find secret notes around the valley. But I had some rocks to drop off, and I intruded on Emily's shift at the Star Drop Saloon to hand them to her. And the last thing I'll note is the sun sets earlier in winter. A very nice touch. Midnight's Bowl is beside the house. I'm not too sure when I did that, but it's cool to know that you can move them around. Having completed Emily's quest meant I had a prize ticket waiting for me by the board. I got a blue pinstripe bed in return. I'll be sleeping in style tonight. Unfortunately, a Nautilus shell hadn't spawned in just yet, but I did find a new winter crop seed. They're called powder melons, so I thought I'd better plant some back on the farm. It feels quite exciting to be growing an actual crop this winter. Afterwards, I went for a little adventure down into the quarry mine, also that I could pick up the golden scythe at the end of it. But I did notice a blocked off path to the side that I've never seen before. I'll come back for you sometime soon. But for now, I got some sleep in my new fancy bed. Another round of pumpkin juice was ready for me the following morning. It feels good to be making good money through winter. I then went to check the beach with held breath, and would you believe it, there it was. One single Nautilus shell. I ran as fast as my little legs would allow all the way to the community center. I finished off the final bundle, and after 87 days of hard work and a little bit of luck, the community center had been restored to its former glory. I welcomed our new dino friend to the family this morning. I named him Wyatt, because Wyatt not? I'm sorry. Yeah, that one was pretty bad. Anyway, over in town, I found the villagers celebrating the return of the community center. I got my Stardew Hero trophy, and I watched Pierre knock Morris into next century with a wombo combo like I've never seen before. Afterwards, I popped by Robin's to get her help constructing a second pet bowl. That's right, I got myself a second pet baby. Everyone meet Lola the dog. I got her a green bow because she deserves to look like a star. Willie apparently had something to show me in the back room of his boathouse, so I wasted no time and headed down to the beach right away. Remember that in the near future project I had mentioned? Well, this is it. The boat to Ginger Island. I needed 200 hardwood, 5 iridium bars, and 5 batteries to fix it up. And well, I didn't have any of that on me. Nah, I'm just kidding. Of course I did. So I handed it all over to the boat, and I just gotta wait for it to be fixed overnight. In the meantime, I bought some tree saplings from Pierre's and filled my greenhouse with all the fruit trees. The ones I had already grown dropped saplings when I cut them down, so that made it a lot easier. And I watched over my farm for a while, you know, just to take it all in. It was not surprising to say that day 90 I was headed for the Fern Islands, leaving the Frosty Valley behind me in favor of a warm tropical island. This actually popped the achievement A Distant Shore, another new achievement added with the update. On the island I met with Leo, who wasn't gonna talk unless I got the approval of the birds. To do that I needed golden walnuts, and I think a montage would be quite appropriate here, don't you think? Well, that was quite fun, wasn't it? Before heading back to the island, Pierre popped by my farm to let me know of his updated stock list for next year, and I took care of another round of pumpkin juice. Today's adventure on Ginger Island was a trip through the volcano dungeon. After a long adventure through the dungeon, I made it to the top, the volcano caldera. Up here lies a chest with a prismatic shard, the forge, which I will get into later when it's important, and a couple of golden walnuts. With the forge now accessible from the bottom of the volcano, I headed back home. It must be new to the update, at least I think it is, but I noticed the fairy lights around town when I was passing through, and it was quite lovely actually. Day 92, I decided to take a break from the island for a bit, just to catch up on a few things, like sorting out the winter seeds and my powder melons that had grown on the farm, and taking another special quest from Robin to collect 80 hardwood for her. While waiting for the boat to Ginger Island the next morning, I saw a sign for Squidfest, another fishing event that's taking place soon. I'll keep that in mind, but right now I had something important to do. Something on Ginger Island. Something that involved opening up the dig site. Something that involved clearing out the dig site. Oh yeah, that's right, it's the thrilling return of Season 4 of the world-renowned, Oscar-nominated segment that you all know and love. It can only be Panning with Poxio! If you are new to this segment, it works a little something like this. I pan across the dig site here on Ginger Island in search of a lucky ring. It's as simple as that. The upgraded pans added to the 1.6 update actually added an invisible reaching effect, making it much easier to pan the spots that spawn far across the river. Plus, it gives a bonus to the resources that you pan up. Unfortunately, today wasn't the day to get my first lucky ring. But hey, where's the fun in that? I can't give away the excitement too early on, now can we? On day 94, I found myself back on Ginger Island, this time to catch up on golden walnut collecting, which included finding the walnuts around the dig site and helping Professor Snail with his research. This in turn got me a few more walnuts, which I used to unlock the island trader. I found Birdie on the other side of the island, who asked me to find her a memento of her late pirate husband. However, it dawned on me that without a certain villager in the valley just yet, this would be impossible to complete until then. So back home and to bed I went, where, yes, I dreamed about how awesome I am. It'd be rude if I didn't. Day 95 began with more juice collecting. I didn't have a lot of pumpkins left, but I was still going strong on the juice making. I took a boat ride to the island to cut down mahogany trees for the hardwood, and after chopping down stumps on the island farm, I returned to the valley so I could take it all to Robin's, and I dropped it into her wood pile, completing yet another special quest. The prize machine gave me 4 mushroom logs. Not too sure what they're for, but I'm sure I'll find out soon enough. While meandering around that evening, I wanted to go and see a train that was passing up by the railroad, but when I got there, a cutscene with Magnus started playing, so I didn't even see the train. I could only hear it, and I could see the smoke coming out the top of it, but it was invisible. Magnus just wanted his magic ink back, but that would have to wait, since I don't quite have access to the sewers just yet. It was day 1 of 2 of Squidfest down at the beach today. I dialed into my inner fisherman for this and tried my best to catch as many squid as I possibly could. Unlike the trout derby, Squidfest lasts all day, and it's about how many you catch, not how many tags you happen to find. I stayed for most of the day, and I only managed to catch 3 squid in total. My rewards were deluxe bait, 3 mystery boxes, and a dish of the sea. Look, I'll take it. Day 97 and day 98 were days I spent back on Ginger Island, participating in more shenanigans at the dig site. Yes, of course, it's time for more, and say it with me now, Panning with Poxio! It took until day 98 for something incredible to happen, but locked in with my shiny gold pan and the panning gods looking down for me for good luck, we managed to pull our first lucky ring of the season. That's right, 2 days away from day 100, we pulled a miracle out of nowhere and bagged lucky ring number 1. God, what an incredible time to be alive. We are so close to the end, yet on day 99 I was still out here grinding. Winter seeds needed to be picked, turned back into seeds and replanted in the fields. My pumpkin juice needed collecting, and the second to last round of pumpkins were dumped back into the kegs. Not to mention my powder melons were ready for harvest. I put them all through a seed maker to plant even more across my second crop field. I got Clint to open a bunch of geodes I had been hoarding to find additions I could make for Gunther in the museum, and to finish it all off, the night market was in full swing when I got there that evening. I spent it all down in the submarine catching 3 deep sea fish, the spookfish, a blobfish, and a midnight squid. But before I knew it, we were here on day 100. And as is tradition in all of my 100 days videos, I take the final day to relax, unwind, and reflect on what has been an incredible journey so far in the spa. The 1.6 update has brought so many new things to the table. That green rain event was crazy. The 2 new fishing derbies were so much fun. The quality of life changes and seeing how awesome winter is now was such a breath of fresh air. Not to mention we got our first lucky ring. I have to say, it's been a pretty good first 100 days. But I tell you what, there is so much more to explore, and I'm so excited to find all the other goodies hiding in this update. But for now, please let me know what you enjoyed most about this update if you were able to play it, and I'm just gonna keep relaxing here for a while if you don't mind. The adventure continues exactly where we left off last time, freezing my little tootsies off in the cold valley winter. Today was about getting back into the swing of things, like saying good morning to my 2 adorable pets, Lola, my dog, and Midnight, my cat, and making sure my coop and barn animals were thriving despite the chilly atmosphere outside. One thing I will be doing this time around is giving out birthday gifts. Apologies to the villagers of Pelican Town, but I was very profit orientated then. Alas, I needed everyone to max friendship for perfection, so what better time to start than right now? As the afternoon rolled around, I fixed up that tree stump I had forgotten about last time with some hardwood, and talk about craftsmanship. We have a brand new home for some loving critters to occupy. While we wait for someone to secure a down payment, I popped to the beach for the final night of the night market. When I got there, I looked for a garlic seed, but quickly realized I had missed it a couple of days ago. Never to mind though, I've already moved on to the next day, so I can't dwell on how foolish I am. It seems a lone raccoon has found his way to the newly renovated tree stump. He gave me the task of finding him 5 clams and a smoked red mullet. I found myself in town soon after, where I dug up a rusty spoon, and since I was right there, I thought I might as well donate it to the museum. As I passed the special quest board, I picked up Gus's famous omelette quest. I was on my way to the beach to do some foraging, and to purchase the fish smoker recipe from Willie. I'm very excited to try this new machine added in the update. All in good time, however, I may be entering my friend's era, but I'm still caught up in my profits era. So much so that I'm turning my Ginger Island farm into a profit metropolis. That starts with a whole bunch of iridium sprinklers. And I think we may be onto something here, people. Speaking of profits, waiting for me outside this morning was another round of pumpkin juice. Although I'm sad to say that this was our last full batch, as we were now down to our final pumpkins. But that's okay, because I was gearing up for the island farm to take over all the hard work. It's me though, so I had to make it look nice with a border of rustic plank flooring. I mean, what's the point of all of this if it doesn't look good, am I right? Before taking off, I used a few golden walnuts to unlock the mailbox by the island farmhouse, and spent the rest of the day diving through the volcano dungeon. I was here to gather anything I could get my hands on, things like dragon teeth, extra golden walnuts, and cinder shards, amongst other things. After a successful dungeon dive last night, it was already day 104. I don't think I mentioned this last video, but when your pets reach max hearts, they now have a chance to drop gifts for you. Isn't that just the cutest thing ever? Thank you for my gift, Midnight. Funnily enough, I was waiting outside Clint's this morning to get a tool upgrade, then realized I forgot to bring the 5 gold bars, an exact repeat of what I did in the first video. Time moves on, and well, you think I'd get smarter. Sometimes we all all wish for things that will never happen. But hey, my pickaxe is getting an upgrade, and that's all that matters. Afterwards, I took a bus trip out to the desert. I paid Sandy a visit to splash a third of my pumpkin juice earnings on purchasing a whopping 288 starfruit seeds. It was no surprise that I then spent the rest of the day getting them all planted down on the island farm. You'll notice I left one sprinkler without crops. That's a just in case of an emergency sprinkler. I like to future-proof myself, for obvious reasons. However, by the end of the day, I had a full crop of starfruit growing. My one regret is I didn't have any time to give Granny Evelyn her birthday gift, and I feel terrible. I'll have to make up for it another day because we're moving onwards and upwards. I popped by the travelling cart this morning just for funsies, and I happened to see that she was selling a Junimo catalogue. The decorator inside of me was fighting very hard to overpower my common sense. It was 70,000 gold, and I was tossing up this decision for a while. Safe to say I caved. The decorator inside me won, and I got the Junimo catalogue. I wasn't done spending though. Up at Robin's, I commissioned a stable to be built on my farm. Probably a bit more practical than a catalogue, but I digress. The time remaining in the day was spent cave fishing actually. For a couple of reasons. I had to tick off catching a few new fish for the fishing collection from the various floors, including the elusive lava eel, and I wanted to get cave jelly. You may have noticed last time that I had sea jelly and river jelly from all the fishing I did. Well, cave jelly is the third type of jelly that you can fish up. I just needed to make those fish smokers. Before I could make them, I had some powder melons to harvest this morning, not to mention a field full of winter forage thanks to my winter seeds. With the change of seasons soon approaching, I decided to cover all my fields in winter seed. I ran my powder melons through my seed makers, and I made the 2 fish smokers. In the meantime, I popped into town to donate a couple of artifacts I had come across to pick up my shiny new pickaxe, and I accepted the Wizard's Prismatic Jelly special quest from the board. Down on the beach, I was foraging around the tide pools and got the final foraging level. Then I rounded the day off smoking the fish I caught yesterday and turning the rest of my powder melons into seeds for the next winter. I got 12 grand for those fish, by the way. I smell potential. Who was at my door the following morning but none other than my main man Gunther. He was here to tell me we were getting awarded for our efforts in preservation at the museum. And what's my reward? A rusty key. This will give us access to the sewers finally, so I guess it's not too bad. Also, I now have a horse! Robin finished the stable and I named my noble steed Cookie. I was very excited, as you can see. After dumping the final lot of pumpkin juice into the shipping bin, Cookie and I took off into town. I handed over my axe to Clint for an upgrade. Then I fished up a red mullet from the ocean shortly after, which I smoked in one of my fish smokers. With that and 5 clams, I finished the first raccoon quest, and in return I got 25 carrot seeds. Back in town, I used the rusty key to gain access to the sewers. Krobus, the shadowy figure from the last video, opened up the mutant bug lair for me to venture through. This was so I could collect the dark talisman at the end of it. The talisman I used to access the witch's swamp. A henchman stood in the way between me and the wizard's magical ink, but luckily I had prepared some void mayo earlier, and he left without a fuss. The magic ink was now in my possession, and the wizard was very grateful to have it back. As a reward, I got access to the Book of Summoning. This is where I can blow millions of gold on golden clocks, obelisks, and Junimo huts, if I so feel like it. And to top it all off, today was Leah's birthday, so I gave her some goat cheese. On the other hand, day 108 was a lot less hectic. It was spent down in the mines searching for a certain color-changing slime. The only other things to note were the new mine levels. I'm actually quite happy we got new mine layouts. Look how cool they are. And a gold slime that gives you a little bit of gold when you slay it. The 25th of winter can only mean one thing. It's the Feast of the Winter Star Festival. Everyone was looking so cozy in their winter outfits, the food smelled delicious, and it was time to give out some presents. Penny was my person this year, so I gave her an emerald, which she was very pleased with. Pierre had me, and bear in mind, this man has made tens of thousands of gold from me over the past year, and he has the audacity to give me a pink cake. If Pierre has no haters, then I'm dead. Oh my god. That's so mean. I had the idea to feed Cookie one of my carrots, and I was stoked that it actually worked. It's the little things that make life joyous. I had some business to conduct at Clint's this morning, so imagine my displeasure when I saw him run away from his own shop to go stare at a furnace in the community center for the day. You'll be getting a 1 out of 5 star review on Yelp from me, Clint, and best believe it's gonna be super passive aggressive. It was his birthday though, so maybe I'll write that review tomorrow. I took all my frustration out in the mines, searching once again for Magnus's prismatic slime. Unfortunately, I didn't find it. With Clint back on the till today, I was able to finally pick up my new axe before heading back down to the mines to continue the hunt. It took most of the day to run into it, but in the late afternoon, on a random dungeon floor, I found it. And it didn't see the light of day for long. Cookie and I went for a nighttime ride down to the Wizard's Tower. Prismatic jelly in hand, I gave it over to him. Then I circled into town to drop off Gus's eggs that he had requested for his omelette, and with that I knocked 2 birds with 1 stone and ticked off 2 special quests. I can't believe it, but somehow we're at the end of another season. In my mailbox sat a letter from Magnus with the recipe for Monster Musk, and Gus somehow managed to fit a whole mini fridge in there. My 2 rewards for completing those special quests. My morning was taken up chopping trees down for wood so that I could go and commission a shed from Robin, my first of 2 sheds that will hold all of my kegs. While I was there, I thought I might as well stock up on wood before the price increases too, which I will not regret. I'm not being sarcastic about that either, it was genuinely a good idea. Back on the farm, I popped down 3 stone chests. These will hold all of my seasonal crops that I'll grow in my 2nd year in the valley. Cookie and I did laps of the farm as I planned out the future of the Meadowlands farm, and I watched the snow fall on the final night of year 1. The ice had melted away. I'm not being blinded by pure white snow. It must be spring again. A new villager by the name of Kent came to visit the farm this morning, just popping by to say hi and that he'd be here to stay. So that was nice. While I waited for Piers to open this morning, I went around scything away the dead crops from winter, and I cleaned up the farm from the loose debris that had spawned overnight. This year I'll be growing every crop there is, hence why I was setting up the 3 chests yesterday. Considering I need every crop for the shipping collection and a lot for the cooking collection, I find year 2 is a good time to grow them all and store them away for later. With that taken care of, I decided a productive use of time would be spent smelting ores, so that's what I did. I woke up the next morning to a brand spanking new shed, and what I can only describe as a slap in the face. A nautilus shell produced by my oysters. You're about a season too late. It's the thought that counts, I guess. I took off to the Fern Islands afterwards, and I'm glad I did, because the weeds on the island farm had gotten a little too close for comfort. Luckily, I was able to fix it up without any crop casualties, and I planted down a melon, a garlic, and some wheat. 3 crops I need to grow for the Gourmand Frog quest. I still had to wait a few days for the starfruit to be ready, so in the meantime I headed back to the valley, where I picked up my 2 prize tickets waiting for me by the special quest board. The prize machine gave me a pomegranate sapling and a new book called Friendship 101, which makes it a little easier to become friends with villagers. I picked a new special quest to sink my teeth into, Caroline's Island Ingredients quest, which tasked me to grow and ship 100 taro roots. Back on the island for the 2nd time, I planted down all the taro tubers I had collected thus far to make a start. Hey look, it's me, doing donuts on Cookie. I was here at Robin's because I wanted to give my animals some more room. Plus, my shed is fine, but it'd be better with an upgrade. That's right, my animals were getting a little bit squashed in that small corner of the farm, and I wanted to give them a bit more space to roam around in. After rejigging the fence line a bit and adding some torches around the place, I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Ooh, scary. I was met with rain on day 116. Did I move my animal chest all the way across the farm with my axe? Yes, I did. Did I know that if you do it with a pickaxe it wouldn't destroy the pathing? No. No, I did not. But hey, it worked. After handing over a birthday gift to Kent, I paid a visit to our raccoon friend, who has a wife now. She runs a shop that currently sells the 4 new crops. I think it'll upgrade with every request I complete. The next one required me to get strawberry jelly and dried cactus fruits, but that would have to wait because I was on a mission. I get up at Willie's grabbing the essentials, made my way up to the mountain lake, and buckled in for one hell of a ride. I wanted to catch the first legendary fish. The legend. The hardest legendary fish to catch. Yeah, it took me like 13 seconds. I genuinely think that may be the most painless legend catch in the history of Stardew Valley. I took it down to the community center and added it to the fish tank. I was not expecting to have this much time left in the day, so I filled it with buying a few extra carrot seeds from the raccoons for some maple seeds and getting a good night's sleep. The following day began harvesting garlic and replacing it with those carrot seeds, then harvesting parsnips which I replaced with some rhubarb seeds. Afterwards I used the wood I bought last season along with the bars of copper and iron I had smelted to craft a bunch more kegs. I had just enough to completely fill the first shed and one left over for outside. Up at Robin's I moved the silo from its old spot across to the new animal area and I popped across to Ginger Island because all of my star fruit was finally ready for harvest. After picking it all, I had to race back to the valley where I sold all the gold quality fruit to Pierre, so that when I bust into the desert, I had enough gold to purchase another round of seeds. With the help of Cookie, I made it back to the boat in time, so that I could make my way to the island to plant down another round. With the stressful stuff out of the way, I was able to mooch back home and make use of my keg shed, dumping the leftover fruit into the kegs. I say, what a delightful sight of ensuing profit. For the next couple of days, I grinded down in the Skull Caverns. No, I wasn't here for the resources. In fact, I was here for combat XP. It's the last skill I need to get to level 10, and I thought the monsters down here would give me the most XP for slaying them. Although I should mention that I swapped out my potatoes with blue jazz seeds, and I gave Lewis a cactus fruit for his birthday. But I was grinding nonetheless. It took all 2 days to fill that XP, but after 2 days in the caverns, I finally got the level up that I needed, and I think I just became a master of the 5 ways. That door in the Cindersap forest that once lay a mystery so many seasons ago was now ours to open. Inside, I found a wall of mastery. A note from Grandpa told me about the tips, recipes, and tools that lay in the secret room. Mining, fishing, farming, foraging, and combat. The 5 mastery paths to unlock. I'll explain each path as I unlock them. Saves me a lot of time trying to explain it now. But essentially, all XP gained from each skill is now combined into one progress bar. For each level, you need to reach a certain amount of XP. 10,000 for the first level, 15,000 for the second, 20,000 for the third, 25 for the fourth, and 30 for the final level, totaling a staggering 100,000 XP for all 5. This is all very exciting, but unfortunately I still had regular things to do, such as getting a barn upgrade commissioned from Robin and fishing for cave jelly. I wanted to craft more fish smokers, but in the 10 real life minutes that I fished today, I got one cave jelly. A singular cave jelly. Seriously, just one cave jelly! I found myself back on the island farm the next day. I was here to check on my crops for the gourmand frog, but my taro roots were ready to be harvested, so that was a nice little bonus. Afterwards I chopped trees down back in the valley, since the stockpile on the farm was looking a bit sparse, and the rest of the night was spent turning the taro roots back into taro tuber. I have to admit, today is an exciting day. Is it because it's Vincent's birthday? No, not quite. Is it because I'm spending time at the dig site on Ginger Island? Why, yes it is. The continuation of season 4 of your favorite segment of all time is back. It's time for Panning with Poxio! I am in love with the changes made to panning in this update. I think it's actually worth panning for once. Like, look at this cool gold shirt I got. So many goodies and resources, but most importantly, and the ring that rises above all the others, the lucky ring. That's right, a single lucky ring shone through, and we can add number 2 to our collection. Good God, there is just nothing like the rush of panning up a lucky ring. I decided to hang around the island because I had some taro tuber to plant, and I didn't fancy interrupting our sacred penning with Poxil with some menial task. I managed to trade more taro tuber with the island trader for bone fragments, so I have more than enough planted down to meet the special quest quota. Before I left, I showed the gourmand frog the melon, garlic, and wheat growing on the farm, and for all three I managed to secure 15 golden walnuts. I put the first gem on the gem puzzle podiums, and finally I unlocked the beach resort with the golden walnuts. Having made it back home, I went around dealing with a few chores I had missed out on over the last couple of days before calling it a night. The rain continued through to day 124, but I didn't mind because I had a shed full of starfruit wine. My coop needed a bit of cleaning, clearly, so I sorted that out before working on Birdie's quest. If you take the war memento to Kent, the gourmet tomato salt to Gus, the Stardew Valley rose to Sandy, the universal remote to George, the Arctic shard to Magnus, and finally the wriggly worm to Willy, you'll get the pirate locket. I took the locket all the way back to Birdie, who was very thankful for us finding it. In return, I got taught how to make fairy dust and a few golden walnuts to go with it. I kept the golden walnut collecting going by finding a couple in shelly stones on the beach, a couple just outside the pirate cove, unlocked from building the resort, and a few inside the pirate cove, which included me destroying this guy at a few games of darts. I got out of there before he made me walk the plank, or worse, make me illegally download a movie from the early 2000s! It was Egg Festival Day today. However, before I could attend, I had to take care of a few odd jobs on the farm. That did include harvesting crops and flowers and filling the greenhouse with iridium sprinklers. But it was time to show my face in town as the reigning egg hunt champion. First and foremost, I got myself a bunch of strawberry seeds from Pierre's stall. Then it was time to start the hunt. Did I know the eggs would be placed differently this time? No. I did not, and that really threw me off my game. I thought this flower was an egg, it definitely was not, and I managed to get 8 eggs total, which is totally enough to win, right? Right? Now, there's a lot of words that I would like to use to articulate how I'm feeling right now. However, at the risk of demonetizing my channel, I will refrain from doing so. Instead, I'll just plant down my strawberries like the good little farmer that I am. I hate Abigail. I was a happy chap on day 126, I had some blue jazz flowers to pick, and I commissioned another shed to the farm for future kegs. Today was actually Haley's birthday, and I was intrigued to see what it would be like to give her an iridium quality gift, along with that Stardrop tea I got a while ago. So I handed them both over as she came out of her room, and holy crap, I think I love Stardrop teas now. I was passing by the bus stop shortly after and I saw a written sign from Pam. I thought I'd write a little message back to her when she picks it up later. A while later, I found myself down at the beach helping Haley find her grandma's necklace. I then purchased a Stardrop from Krobus. I'm a little embarrassed to say it took me a while to remember he sold one of these. Afterwards, I tried to fish up at the mountain lake, accompanied by my fish smokers. However, I forgot they needed coal, so I went back home to get coal, and then by the time I got back, it was already dark, so I just gave up. I didn't mind because for the next couple of days I got to indulge in a brand new desert festival. For a few days the desert hosts all sorts of stores, activities and challenges, and I was super excited to check it all out. There's a chef here who will prepare a made to order meal for you. There's a race between competitors that you can bet on as they race around a track. Just don't bet on the snail. Just trust me, don't do it. Willy has a fishing challenge. Marlon and Gil are here to give out skull cavern challenges. I even found Pierre sniffing Haley. Wait, what? Hold on, wait, what? Keep that up, mister, and I'm telling Caroline. Emily has an outfit exchange. Don't worry, I get to keep my old look. But gosh, don't I look snazzy? You can also get a free cactus. All of these games and challenges give you calico eggs. Calico eggs are the prize tokens that you can exchange for prizes at the various shops during the festival. After bidding on a few more races and losing all of them, I used my calico eggs to purchase some mystery boxes. I didn't fancy anything else on sale, but now that I know how it all worked, I'll definitely be back next year for more. I took Cookie on a stroll around the valley the following day, picking salmon berries around the Cindersap forest. We were having a jolly old time, and it got even better when we found a pot of gold by the waterfall. Soon after, I popped around to Haley's place to help her open a jar and to ask her to be my girlfriend. Thank the heavens, she said yes. Being rejected from Haley would have sent me down a very dark rabbit hole. I then circled up to Robin's to commission a big shed upgrade, and I got comfy at the mountain lake fishing and smelling the waft of freshly smoked fish. I wanted to test the smokers out in a normal situation just to see how that affected the paycheck at the end of the day. And look, 16 grand from one day of fishing is actually not too shabby. I have a leprechaun hat. I didn't even realize I had it until last night, so there you go. Anyway, my morning today was filled up with picking rhubarb from my crop fields, taking some wonderful and maybe not so wonderful photos with Haley on Marnie's ranch, and handing over a cactus fruit to Pam for her birthday. And all of this was followed by starfruit picking, starfruit replanting, and taro root harvesting over on Ginger Island. What's very exciting is during all of this I managed to get my first mastery level. But before I could get ahead of myself, I dumped enough taro root into the shipping bin to complete Caroline's quest, and I had to keg all of the starfruit in my keg shed back home. The leftovers I just shoved into the shipping bin. I found my special quest reward in the mailbox this morning. Oh, no, that's just a cheese cauliflower recipe from Pam. Okay, here it is. No, that's just a cute letter from Haley. Okay, this time, no, that's from Robin with some wood. Ah, here we go. A solar panel crafting recipe. Now, I had a choice to make. What skill was I going to invest my first mastery level in? I weighed up the options and after much thought, decided to pick the farming tree first. Having claimed mastery of farming, I got the iridium scythe, which can be used to harvest crops, no more picking them like a peasant farmer. The statue of blessings crafting recipe, which will give me a random blessing each day, and the ability to find animal crackers, which will permanently double a farm animal's produce. Pigs are excluded from this perk, however. My first mastery skill was now under my belt, and that felt good. Afterwards, I rode Cookie into town where I got another prize from the prize machine, and remembered Clint hates me because he doesn't work on a Friday. I then popped by Marnie's to get 2 new animals, Pixie the pig and Grant the sheep. You'll also notice that you can buy an animal catalog, so if Marnie isn't around, then I can still purchase animals and supplies. Someone get Clint that same damn book before I bloody throw one at him. Not to mention I got auto collectors that I placed in both the coop and the barn. Not a lot happened throughout the afternoon, however I did smelt ores to finish the day off. And that carried on to day 132. Basically, I just spent the morning prepping myself to make a lot of kegs. Unfortunately, I was lacking on oak resin out of all things, but that's okay. I got a good section of the shed filled. And when I eventually get more oak resin, I can add more slowly but surely. I paid a visit to the saloon later that evening to give Shane a little birthday gift, and in the dead of night, chopped stumps in the secret woods. I was lacking on hardwood, critical levels if you will, so just before bed I made use of the old animal area and planted a few rows of mahogany seeds, sprinkled with a bit of tree fertilizer, and we'll be good on hardwood in no time. I used the Harvest with Scythe mod in the Mega Modded series, but having it in the base game now is just mwah, I love it. I spent the day over on Ginger Island. I saw I was pretty close to Key's 100 golden walnut goal, so I decided a dive through the volcano dungeon would be a good use of my time. To find golden walnuts, of course, but any other goodies that I came across wouldn't go amiss, that's for sure. Plus, I managed to tick off another monster slayer goal while I was in there. What a relief it was to see Clint running his business this morning. I could finally pick up my gold hoe and swap it out for a gold watering can upgrade. I spent a lot of time today working out an upgraded crop field. Sure, the quality sprinklers are fine, but I'm a farmer of wealth now, and I need to show that wealth with iridium sprinklers. Yes, I do have strawberries in the greenhouse. Believe it or not, my YouTuber luck ran out when it came to ancient seeds, so this is my backup idea. I popped by the dwarf in the mines shortly after so that I could get some bombs, and as an added bonus I got a book that makes bombs deal 25% less damage. To myself, that is. Because that's right, I'm spending the day in the Skull Caverns. My one and only goal today was to gather as much iridium as I could. I'm running low and I need more to upgrade the second crop field with iridium sprinklers. And so it was down here in the caverns where I gathered that iridium. On a mediocre luck day, I managed to get 94 iridium ore, which is actually a pretty good effort if you ask me. With strawberries under my belt now, I made sure to dump one into a preserve jar and some cactus fruit into the hydrator for the raccoon quest, before heading off to the flower dance. Yeah, I decided to go this time around. I made sure to purchase a couple of important things from Pierre's stall, and I know I said all this festival brings is rejection, but I have a girlfriend now, so there's no rejection for me. Take that, Alex, you little punk. The morning of day 137 consisted of placing a few more kegs down in my keg shed, collecting and shipping off a batch of starfruit wine that was done fermenting, harvesting a field full of strawberries with my iridium scythe, picking up my gold watering can from Clint, and making a start on crop field upgrade number 2. I ended up going with this sort of Z pattern beside the pond because it's probably the biggest area that I can cultivate on. In the corners I placed down brick paths to outline where future Junimo huts will go, and I outlined it all with rustic planks like I did with the other one. I have to say, I'm actually really happy with how seamless this turned out. For a layout that limits places to grow crops, I think it looks pretty cool. And to top it all off, just get a load of that paycheck. Majority of this morning was used up prepping my new crop fields. I got a bunch of parsnip seeds from Pierre's so that in a few days, when the seasons change over, I'll just have to scythe the dead crops away, instead of having the monotonous task of hoeing and watering everything. And parsnip seeds are pretty cheap anyway, so I didn't mind. I almost forgot to mention I gave Pierre a birthday gift. Forgive me if I'm still a little bit upset about that pink cake present. Not a lot went down that afternoon, I just spent some quality time with Cookie. But later that evening I waited for my strawberry jelly to be ready so that I could hand it over to my raccoon neighbors. My reward was the Raccoon Journal book. Reading it meant weeds now have a greater chance to yield mixed seeds. The next day began outside Haley's house. I wanted to give her a coconut because she deserves it. And I wanted to get her to 10 hearts. It was also Emily's birthday, so I thought I'd hang around to give her some wool. I popped by Robin's afterwards to move the keg sheds. I think they were in the way a bit, and I like the new spot below the animal area much better. Of course, I could not leave it unpathed, so I took some time to extend the main path and add a cute little stone path to both of the sheds. Someone tell me, where does time go? The last day of spring is already here, but we still had some things to do. Things like finishing off the gem puzzle on Ginger Island for a few of those precious golden walnuts. Using those walnuts, I got the warp obelisk back to the valley, and I got a warp totem to the island. A nice little touch. Having over 100 of them meant I was able to pass through into Key's Walnut Room. In here is a quest board, a machine to trade key gems for rare and powerful rewards, and a perfection tracker. I'd like to not touch on the perfection tracker quite yet, because I've got quite a bit of work to do. Alas, back home I took care of another strawberry harvest in the greenhouse, which ended up giving me another mastery level. So I was right off to the mastery cave, where I claimed fishing as my second mastery skill, giving me the advanced iridium rod, which lets me use 2 bobbers at once, the recipe for challenge bait, and now I can encounter golden fishing chests, which will hold rarer items if caught. All very exciting stuff. And as the final day of spring was wrapping up, I quickly popped into Clint's to get an iridium upgrade for my pan. Of course, the pan takes full priority. And I watched the last glimpses of the spring sun fall below the horizon on top of Cookie. Get your sunscreen ready, folks, because we're getting back into summer. Considering how spring started, I'm sure you can imagine how the first day of summer went. It was pretty much a carbon copy, getting rid of old crops, cleaning up the farm, purchasing all the seeds, and planting them back down on the farm. The only difference is I did get a very ominous message in my mailbox about meeting someone called Fizz on Ginger Island. With everything planted and not much else to do, I thought I'd better go and check it out. Turns out Fizz is a Joja associate under the guise of specialty service. This guy offers papers that grants 1% towards perfection, and for each paper, it's 500,000 gold per pop. I don't know, man. I don't think I trust that face. Cookie and I started the following day waiting outside of Clint's. I actually didn't mind, because just look at that beautiful shiny iridium pan. Yesterday I managed to pick up another special quest, this time from Willy. It was to catch 5 of each Ginger Island fish, and I was happy to reserve the day for such a task. I caught 5 lionfish in the ocean, I caught 5 blue discus in the river, and I caught 5 stingrays in the Pirate Cove. Too easy, done and dusted, another quest ticked off the list. The prize machine gave me a cute sports hat, if you wanted to know. And as nighttime rolled around, I thought I might as well smoke the fish I caught today. I certainly won't be picky about a bit of extra profit. I have to admit most of day 143 was lost to dealing with another starfruit harvest, but hearing the sound of kegging is just like money to my ears. However, not all of it was lost. I still had time to construct 3 separate Junimo huts, 1 for the top crop field and 2 for the second crop field. And that night I swapped out my magnet and glow ring for the iridium band, a ring that gives a glowing effect, a magnetic effect, and an attack damage boost all in one. And a lucky ring to go with it didn't sound too bad either. Before tackling the mines today, I had a couple of things to check off, those being Jazz's birthday, I gave her a rabbit's foot, and spending time at the forge at the volcano caldera, combining my iridium band with a lucky ring, and infusing 3 rubies into my galaxy sword for increased overall damage. I went to the mines afterwards with the intention of slaying slimes and dust sprites towards their respective monster slayer goals. I just really wanted the burglar's ring and the slime charmer ring. I will say though, in the middle of all this monster slaying, I happened upon my first animal cracker, and I ticked off another monster slayer goal. I think for the bats. It's hard to tell, but I don't think it was for the dust sprites. To begin the next day, I said good morning to my animals, as I have been doing for most days. Please don't be concerned, I promise they're well looked after. I harvested some wheat and swapped it out for another round of wheat seeds. I got a copper upgrade on my trash can of all things. Yes, it is Friday, but it's raining, so Clint decided to stay in today. Thank God. I don't know what I would have done, but it wouldn't have been pretty. All but one mahogany tree had grown above the farmhouse, so I thought I might as well chop it all down. I needed some of that hardwood to get an upgrade on my house, and that's exactly what I commissioned from Robin soon after. Another round of strawberries from my greenhouse were harvested right after that. I added the final 2 big chests to the hub area, and to finish off a busy day, I thought I might as well buy a mermaid pendant, and I proposed to Haley very romantically in the pouring rain. And she said yes. It only took 19 days to go from 0 hearts to getting married. But hey, what can I say? I'm quite the charmer. To keep the celebrations going, I decided to spend today at the dig site for another episode of your favorite segment of all time, Panning with Poxio! And what a way to keep this party train chugging along by panning up lucky ring number 3. I'm just kidding. I got 2, baby. This one's for you, Haley. That's right, that brings our total to 4 lucky rings for season 4. And God, I am loving it. The energy kept rolling on to day 147. I reserved it for another dive down into the Skull Caverns, since it'd be rude of me not to waste a very good luck day. So down the caverns I went, slaying slimes towards the monster slayer goal, carpet bombing lower floors for lots of iridium, copper, iron and gold, and drinking iridium snake milk? That's right, apparently Key had been waiting for me on floor 100 to see if I made it all in one piece. I did, and I got a permanent increase to my health. After a very successful day in the caverns yesterday, it was nice to change it up today with a wedding. Haley and I got married in the middle of the town square. What a lovely day to celebrate love. It'll be nice to have some company on the farm actually. As a freshly acquired husband, I got to work planting more seeds on the farm, including some summer squash seeds. I then popped by the saloon to hand Gus a rabbit's foot for his birthday. I watched a bird find out what happens when you fly headfirst into a window. Over at Clint's, I picked up my copper trash can, and afterwards I parked up on the Tide Pools pier to try my luck catching another legendary fish. Before I could though, I got my first golden fishing chest, which was quite exciting. I did eventually catch the legendary crimson fish, but I wanted more. The sewers also held a legendary fish, the mutant carp, which actually wasn't too hard of a catch. But I wanted more. The waterfalls down in the Cindersap forest hold a brand new fish. It's called a gobby. And it took me a while to reel one in, but I wanted more. In the Buglia, I caught a slime jack. It's not as cool as the others, but I need it for the fishing collection. But I wanted more. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm actually done now. Gus paid the farm a visit the following morning. He was here to drop off a mini jukebox and some blueprints to craft more if I so wished to. It seemed like I actually did want more because I ended up catching a void salmon in the witch's swamp. That was the last one. I think I've done my dash fishing. That being said, I did pop by the community centre to hand over the latest 2 legendary fish I had caught to the fish tank. Then for the rest of the day I popped a monster musk and went to town slaying monsters in the mines. It didn't take long for me to achieve the Dust Sprite monster slayer goal, so I thought I might as well keep it going on the higher levels. Day 150 marks the halfway point, but like last time, there's no time for celebration. There is time for being productive though. Being Maru's birthday, I met her down the hallway in her house and gave her a strawberry. And back on the farm, I planted down seeds in place of the crops that were harvested by my Junimos. I guess I could celebrate with a bottle of starfruit wine, but I do need every bottle sold for maximum profits. And I guess slaying slimes is pretty satisfying. Oh well. A paycheck like that is celebration enough for me. Haley made me a fried egg this morning. Aw, isn't that just the sweetest? It seems I had acquired another mastery level over the last few days, and it was time to make another decision. This time, I decided to claim foraging mastery. This gives the mystic tree seed recipe, a new special type of tree, the treasure totem recipe, which when used summons a ring of treasure spots on the ground, and the ability to find golden mystery boxes, which will give rarer items when opened. Now that I had 3 mastery levels down, it was time to join the community down at the beach for the annual luau. I had bought an iridium quality truffle to add to the potluck soup, and when the governor got a taste of that delicious soup, I actually popped a new achievement with the update called an unforgettable soup. Our favourite bookseller, Marcelo, and the big old balloon was back in town the next day. With a lot more disposable income under my belt, I was happy to purchase some books today. So I got The Way of the Wind Part 1, Horse, the book, Old Slitherlegs, and the Queen of Sauce cookbook. These books gave me the ability to run faster, move quicker on horseback, run quicker through crops and grass, and gave me the remaining Queen of Sauce recipes, respectively. I can only imagine Marcelo is thinking, thank God this guy finally bought something. Soon afterwards, I handed over a rabbit's foot to a Joja truck driver. This is hinted at in one of the secret notes, but it gives me the special charm, which permanently boosts daily luck. Back on the farm, I tried my best at setting up a mushroom log farm. I heard if you set mushroom logs around mystic trees, it gives you purple mushrooms, which if you dehydrate will give you lots of profits. So, fingers crossed this somewhat works. Ironically, the next raccoon quest needed dried purple mushrooms. How did you know, Mr. Raccoon? How did you know? Cookie and I took a ride through the rain the following day because I had to intrude on Alex's morning to give him a birthday present. Afterwards, I patched up some empty spots in the crop fields with blueberry seeds I had bought from Pierre. Then I popped by Clint's to get an upgrade on my pickaxe, all before putting my axe to work in the cindersap forest. I needed the materials, and I didn't mind the foraging XP that was going towards my next mastery level either. The materials actually went towards more kegs, and I was that much closer to a full shed. Despite being a gorgeous day in the valley, I couldn't quite say the same about Ginger Island. The YouTuber luck was back again though. Seriously, get a load of this. Okay, so I dig up an artifact spot, and wow, there's a snake spine. I need 2 of them for Professor Snail, and they're usually pretty elusive. I find another artifact spot at the end of the beach, and boom, 2 snake spines in one day. What are the chances? I actually had a snake skull in my inventory, so I got to finish the snake display for the professor then and there. And since I got a mango tree sapling as a reward, I thought I'd plant it down on the island farm. And afterwards I got a couple of golden walnuts from secret notes I'd found on the island. To round out the day, I was back at home when I remembered that we could place floorings under buildings now. So that's exactly what I did for the Junimo huts. I began day 155 waiting for our, how shall I say it, fond acquaintance Clint to open up the shop. That's right, I'm holding a grudge against him simply because I can. He did hand over my brand new iridium pickaxe, and I swapped it out for an iridium axe upgrade. I did this before heading back over to Ginger Island. Yes, I am in the dig site, but not for the reason we all want it to be. I'm searching for a pair of fossilized ribs, but unfortunately I couldn't find any, so instead I retired to the volcano dungeon for the day. Only things to note were my very first gold mystery boxes, and a bunch of valuable resources I collected along the way. With starfruit ripe and ready for harvest, it was no surprise that a lot of today was spent dealing with that very task. I have to say though, all of this starfruit wine has been doing wonders for my wallet. Throw a quick strawberry harvest from the greenhouse in there, and you pretty much have the whole day covered. So I think it's best if we move on to the next day. The rain, it seemed, had followed me across the gem sea to the valley. Watching a movie snuggled up in bed with Haley sounded really good right now actually. But unfortunately I had things to do, like swapping out my iridium axe for a hoe upgrade over at Clint's, commissioning a slime hutch to be built on my farm, courtesy of Robin's services, giving Sam a cactus fruit for his birthday, and patching up a few more patches in the crop fields with more blueberries. As the afternoon rolled around, I worked away in the downpour connecting up pathways around the farm. Now that I knew where the slime hutch was going, it felt really good to finally have that all connected. I thought my eyes had deceived me this morning, but no, the green rain phenomenon had returned to the valley once again. Quick side note, my mushroom logs did not produce purple mushrooms like I thought they would, so I moved them closer. Let's hope that changes things. As for how I spent this peculiar day, well, it was to my understanding that the Statue of Blessings required a hefty amount of crafting materials, as in it needs 999 sap, 999 stone, 999 fiber, and 333 moss. And what better time to collect fiber and moss than when there is an abundance of it around the valley. So yeah, this is what I did all day. Not to worry, all traces of green rain had disappeared by the next day. Marlon paid a visit to the farm this morning to give me a green slime egg, and to joke about how he got his eye patch. Thanks, I guess. Cookie and I rode into town to get my iridium pick- Oh, damn it Clint, do your job man! It's totally not my fault for forgetting he takes a day off. Cookie and I rode up to Robin's, where I commissioned another pond for the farm. And while I was there, I gave Demetrius a strawberry for his birthday. That afternoon, I got myself prepped for the trout derby kicking off tomorrow. With the knowledge I now have about how it works, I got everything I needed for success, and a lot of dressed spinner bobbers. I should also say that I made the Statue of Blessings finally, and a quick side note, I think Midnight tried to pounce at me. That was kind of cute actually. I was so prepared for the derby that I even tried putting up a tent in the Cindersap forest for a head start tomorrow, but it wouldn't let me, so whoever told me that in the comments section of the last video, you were wrong! Not to worry though, having slept in the tent at the bottom of the farm, I had a pretty good start to the derby anyway. Now, let's peep the setup. We know about the absurd amount of dressed spinner bobbers. However, this thing next to me is called the bait maker. When I put a rainbow trout into it, I get rainbow trout bait, which will increase my chance of catching more rainbow trout. I'll tell you what, this thing came in clutch. By 2 PM, I had already tripled the amount of golden tags I got last year. And yes, a lot of you let me know in the comments in the last video that the derby does in fact go the whole day, not just until 2 PM. I felt like a bit of a silly goof, but nonetheless, we press on. I kept this going until the evening when I decided to retire with a solid 15 golden tags. I was very happy to receive all of my goodies from the derby tent that night, including a mounted trout that I placed right above our bed in the farmhouse. We are now forever being watched over. Safe to say I was all trout derbied out after yesterday. I used the Statue of Blessings for the first time today. I got a little luck blessing. Cookie and I set off into town this morning so that I could donate an artifact to the museum, and to pick up my new iridium hoe from Clint's, just to swap it out for a watering can upgrade. I won't lie, the rest of the day consisted of fishing out the oysters from my pond, replacing them with a slime jack, and trying to fish up a sturgeon. I got another star drop tea by the way, and also a golden tag. Interesting to know that the derby spans across to the mountain lake. Today was the dwarf's birthday. Last night I fished up a lava eel from the mines, and for his birthday I handed that over along with a star drop tea. He's always a bit of a tricky fellow to get to max hearts, so it was worth using the tea for. I didn't quite manage to catch a sturgeon yesterday, so I took some time to hook one. I needed it for the other fish pond. My mushroom logs had produced purple mushrooms this time. I must have done something right then. Either way, I was sick of looking out over a dull looking farm. The decorator inside of me was screaming, and let's be fair, Haley really did deserve to be living on a farm that met her expectations. And as the night rolled around, I finally got some use out of my Junimo catalogue. Some of these decorations were a perfect fit for the farm. The purple mushrooms I had been dehydrating finished overnight, and along with some white algae, I completed yet another raccoon fetch quest. I got a little raccoon head as a reward. Before I could get back to decorating, however, I had a round of starfruit wine to collect up from my sheds. I sold them off to Pierre because I wanted to purchase the furniture catalogue from Robbins, along with all of her crafting recipes. I felt very confident to continue decorating now. The whole of day 164 was weirdly centered around Willy, except when I went to pick up my watering can from Clint. But it was his birthday, so I dropped off a diamond for him, and I spent the day down in the mines, collecting bug meat for a special quest I had picked up this morning. You won't believe this either, but I got my first ancient seed! It only took 164 days. Another thing that took 164 days was the slime monster slayer goal. By the time night had rolled around, I had farmed enough bug meat for Willy. I dropped by the Adventurers Guild to pick up the slime charmer ring, and I dropped off the bug meat outside Willy's shop. The next day began with a bit of farm planning. I figured my old animal area could be my future golden clock / obelisk area, so I mapped out where they'd go with stone flooring. Cookie and I rode into town afterwards where I paid Marcelo a visit. He had part 2 of The Way of the Wind, and I feel a little faster already. That ancient seed I got yesterday went straight to the museum. The prize machine gave me another dehydrator. I saw what all that bug meat went towards. Good God, what is that smell? And I said goodbye to Cookie for a while as I took a boat across to Ginger Island. Over here I popped down my first plantable ancient seed. 5 gold quality ancient fruits are like the only thing left I need for the missing bundle, so it's good to have that in place. And up at the forge I combined the slime charmer ring with the burglar's ring. I kinda just chopped down trees and mooched around the farm back in the valley to close out the day. Some odd jobs helped me get going this morning, including cracking open my first golden coconut thanks to Clint whacking it with a hammer, and finally filling up my second shed with the last remaining kegs it needed. My afternoon was then taken up with a trip to the island to trade some coconuts with the island trader for a couple more golden coconuts. These I took back to Clint with fingers crossed, and thank goodness I got the fossilized skull. I made a decision afterwards. Yes, I gave up the mushroom logs. I gave them up faster than I gave up going to the gym as my New Year's resolution. I did tap the mystic trees, however. I'll need the mystic syrup later on, but I just couldn't get behind the mushroom log hype. Maybe you can let me know in the comments what I was doing wrong and I'll try again next time. All I can say that happened on day 167 was I built a jade shed, I smelted quartz, I handed over the fossilized skull to Professor Snail, and I ran through the volcano dungeon for resources. Day 168, on the other hand, marks the end of another season, and to see out the summer season, I used the island warp totem I got ages ago, so I could trade some dragon teeth with the island trader for a banana tree sapling. I planted that bad boy right next to the mango tree. Afterwards, I moped around the farm, working on some pathing between the fish ponds and the crop field, illuminating the place up a bit with some torches, and adding some cool pathing around the fish ponds. Of course, it wouldn't be the end of summer without the famous moonlight jellies. So all I ask is that you please sit back and relax with Haley and I as we spoil our ears with musical transcendence. What better way to start the fall season than with a star drop? That's right, we are back in my favorite season. Probably to no one's surprise that today was very similar to the start of the previous seasons. The summer crops were a success, and I'm sure the fall crops will follow suit. Fall crops weren't the only thing being planted today. Another round of starfruit was ready for harvest on the island farm. This time I popped down a mix of speed grow into the soil, so now instead of 13 days, the starfruit would grow in 9. This was of course immediately followed by kegging it all back at home. I kicked off the next day checking in with our raccoon friend. He wanted me to fetch him broccoli juice and pickled bok choy. Yummy. So I bought some extra broccoli seeds from his wife just in case. I then found Penny hanging out in the museum, so I handed her a birthday gift before Jazz and Vincent got there for their tutoring. Just to the north of town where the lake meets the river, I managed to fish up the 4th legendary fish, the angler. You may have noticed that yesterday I got another mastery level while harvesting my starfruit, so I had a decision to make between mining mastery and combat mastery. And I ended up picking combat mastery, which gives me 2 new crafting recipes for an anvil and a mini forge, and the ability to equip trinkets. You'll see what they look like very soon. And to wrap up the day, I fished up a midnight carp under the stars, all to add to my fishing collection. I was back to the skull caverns today, grinding for some of those juicy materials. I managed to get my first trinket today. It's called a fairy box, and I get a little fairy that follows me around healing me. I mean, hey, how cool is that? I managed to tick off another monster slayer goal, and I made it back to my bed that night just in the nick of time. I found a meteor on my farm this morning. Luckily no animals were caught underneath it. The rush of skull cavern diving was gone today. It was instead replaced with things like donating artifacts and making my slime hutch area look nice. You may notice the slime hutch is a lot smaller after the update, and that's simply because it is. Look at the cute itty bitty little slime hutch. It took up the rest of the day doing it up, but I now had a good place for my lightning rods and a cool space for my anvil and mini forge. These things were not cheap to craft, but now I have my own at-home forge. The anvil, I'll figure that out later. The morning of day 173 was spent giving my slime jacks some bug meat, gifting Elliot a duck feather for his birthday, and collecting mystic syrup from my mystic trees. Wait, hold up. They're worth 1,000 gold each? Does anyone smell that? Does that smell like profits? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but for now I'll just hold on to them. Except one that I used for making a treasure totem. I used this on Ginger Island. I totally blew it. I didn't realize I picked a horrible spot to use it on, but I got the fossilized ribs nonetheless, and that's all that matters. Which meant I was able to finally finish off the Professor's fossil exhibition. For my efforts, I got the crafting recipe for an ostrich incubator and some golden walnuts. I decided that since I was around on the island, I might as well do a run through the volcano dungeon. One thing to note is I got another trinket, the parrot egg, which summons a parrot who grants a low chance of finding gold when I slay enemies. Not a lot was happening the following day. I did touch up a bit more of the farm with my signature decorator touch, and I added a little beehive area that night just below the greenhouse. I thought it was a nice way to fill in some empty land. After filling in more grass and planting some broccoli seeds down on the farm, I decided to take my business to the island of Ginger. That's right, it's another episode of Panning with Poxio! Despite my best efforts today, for the first time in this video, I was unsuccessful in my panning endeavors. I know. Even though it was a good luck day, the panning spots just weren't popping up for me today. Although I believe I have neglected to tell you something about panning in the 1.6 update. The more you upgrade your pan, the higher the chance you have of chaining panning spots together. It's very satisfying to get like 4 in a row. It's always a great start to the day when I get to gather up a round of starfruit wine, and imagine Lewis trying to carry 276 bottles of wine in the middle of the night. Cookie and I paid a visit to Robin to get an upgrade on my jadestone shed. I call it that because I'm going to eventually fill it with crystallariums that produce jadestone. And with an upgrade on the way, I concluded it needed to look the part. So I put my decorator hat back on and to work I went. It didn't need much attention, but a little goes a long way. I made a few solar panels for it too, since crystallariums need batteries to craft. A few chores needed attending to this morning. Sometimes it's the little things in Stardew Valley that make it such a great game. The starfruit wine profits had recently put my bank account into a very good place, so I wasn't too worried about erecting 2 brand new obelisks for the farm. The first was the earth obelisk, closely followed by the water obelisk. Between them I spent a cool 1 million gold, but I did need them. And let's be honest, that is nothing compared to what the golden clock costs. Over in town I picked up the special quest, a curious substance, since I hadn't picked one up from the board in a while. But that would have to wait for now because it was all about the starfruit this morning. After getting more seeds from Sandy, harvesting it all, replanting the seeds, and dumping it all safely into my kegs, I felt content spending even more of my wine money on a 3rd farmhouse upgrade. It wasn't until the next day that I plundered the mines in search of ectoplasm for Magnus's special quest. I should note I did give Jody a present for her birthday, but with the fragrance of Monster Musk number 5 wafting through the mines today, it was only a matter of time before I got a ghost to drop what I needed. It took most of the day, but I got what I was looking for late into the evening, and Magnus was very pleased to receive the ectoplasm that night. I'm starting to form quite a nice morning routine now. I think I've set everything up quite nicely, that I can just jump on Cookie and do the rounds of the farm. With the morning rounds out of the way, I popped by the prize machine and got some mystery boxes, before getting cozy at the pier with my 4 fish smokers behind me. You could say I was in doubt, and what does one do when one is in one's doubt? That's right, fish it out. I walked right past Pierre this morning because his daughter was celebrating a birthday. I gave Abigail a puffer fish and a spare Stardrop tea I had. Back on the farm, I replaced a few harvested crops with more fall seeds, and I used some fairy dust I had acquired recently to make pickled bok choy and broccoli juice. Disgusting, I know. However, not for our raccoon family. I ticked off another quest and got some fairy dust back. But it's hard to keep me away from that sweet smell of the ocean. For the 2nd day in a row, I wrapped up the day smoking that good fish as I caught them, obviously. When I got home that night, I dumped them all into the shipping bin. And hey, 32 grand ain't too shabby. After a morning spent doing the rounds again on the farm, taking care of my many bits and bobs, I got a 2nd barn commissioned for the farm. You may be wondering why that is. Well, I'll tell you. Starfruit wine is great, but I wanted a couple of extra sorta passive income schemes. One of them being goat cheese. If I fill a barn full of goats and feed them animal crackers, I can turn their large milk into goat cheese. The gold cheese I'll age in casks down in my basement, and that's at least an extra 100 grand a week. I hear what you're saying though, I could just overhaul the starfruit or go the truffle oil route, but that's no fun. I've been there, I've done that, plus I want to make good use of the new animal crackers. Anyway, I've been sprucing up the animal area while I've been ranting, and someone please send help. I think I broke my goat. I caught myself bussing into the desert the next day. It was Sandy's birthday and I wanted to give her a birthday gift. It also seems my Junimos have been hard at work picking crops for me. Don't worry, they get paid in exposure. Most of the day was spent in my slime hutch, setting up the perfect breeding ground for my slimes. If you've seen my other Stardew series, it's pretty much the same setup. Why try to fix it if it ain't broke, you know what I mean? So the 16th of fall is Valley Fair Day, and after experiencing the heartbreak that was squandering my reigning egg hunt champion title to the likes of Abigail, the Valley Fair, quite frankly, is all I have left. So I went hard this year on the Grange display, showing off the very best from the Meadowlands farm. It paid off because I kept that title and I was very relieved. I then thought it would be funny to go and gamble all of the star tokens I had until I lost it all, and for the love of all that is good in this world, I did not lose a single time on my life. This is dead true. In fact, I won so many times on green that I actually maxed out my star tokens at 9,999. I thought I'd better leave just in case that wealth got to my head. Speaking of wealth, I was ecstatic to see another round of starfruit wine ready to be collected. That will make a nice little addition to my wallet overnight. Cookie and I then made our way over to Clint's with a bunch of gold mystery boxes. I had my fingers crossed that just one of them would give me an auto petter for the soon-to-be goat barn, but it seems I had used up all of my luck at the fair yesterday, so no auto petter this time. I can't say much else happened for the rest of the day, so we might as well carry on to day 186. eggs. After popping by Marnie's to hand her a rabbit's foot for her birthday, I commissioned a big farm upgrade from Robin and spent the day figuring out the best cask setup in the basement. All up, I managed to squeeze about 117 casks in, which I know isn't quite the maximum, but my brain was hurting and it wasn't my main money source anyway, so I was happy with whatever I could get. I ran into Marnie on my doorstep this morning. She had braved the rain to ask me for a cave carrot. I won't lie, you could have just mailed that to me, but hey, I'll add it to the backlog of fetch quests I haven't even started. Most of today was spent with another harvest of starfruit. Is that another mastery level you see before your very eyes? I think it is. So after dumping all the starfruit back into my kegs, I raced off to the mastery cave. It was a pretty easy choice to make. Mining was the final skill to claim mastery in. Torches lit up across all 5 of the plaques, and I could feel Grandpa patting my shoulder. You know, I did think it was a bit chilly in here. Mining Mastery gives me 2 more crafting recipes. The Statue of the Dwarf King, which gives me the choice between 2 mining related powers each day, the Heavy Furnace recipe, and the ability for gem bearing rocks to grant twice the gems when mined. Also, I clicked on the Junimo in the menu and something happened, so that's fun. Put simply, crafting the Statue of the Dwarf King was costly, taking 20 iridium bars. But I did have some to spare, and it looked good next to my Statue of Blessings. The powers you can get are pretty good too. Today consisted of getting the final barn upgrade commission from our good friend Robin, incubating a few slime eggs in the slime hutch, and watching the sunset while I made goat cheese. I'm serious, I didn't have anything better to do. I had a panic because I thought I actually wouldn't be able to give it to Robin today, considering I had her slogging away on the farm on her birthday. But I was very glad to see that I could. I decided a good use of my time could be spent diving through the skull caverns for materials, so that's what I did. Between you and me, my cavern setup was pretty gnarly. I had the fairy box trinket for healing, my Dwarf King statue gave me immunity to bombs for the day, and the Blessing statue gave me an increased crit chance boost. I had some good old-fashioned fun today. As I awoke the next morning, I activated the Statue of Blessings, as I usually do, and I got a new blessing I hadn't seen before called Blessing of the Butterfly. And after quickly seeing to my tasks around the farm, Cookie and I set out into the valley to find this prismatic butterfly. Quick side note, I lost one of my fish smokers to the ocean. It was very sad. But anyway, we eventually found the butterfly chilling in the cinder sap forest. And for finding this beautiful butterfly, I got just over 25,000 gold and a prismatic shard. That was well worth the pursuit, I'd say. On the other hand, I got absolutely scammed after this. Remember in the last video how I was like, I found this passageway in the quarry mine I'd never seen before. But I did notice a blocked off path to the side that I've never seen before. Well, I went to check it out, and there's nothing here. What was the point? Heading into the slime hutch this morning, I saw that I had my first slimes. I thought I'd use up the rest of my slime eggs and give them some friends. The next raccoon quest was pretty simple actually. All they wanted were 5 frozen geodes and 20 bug meat. As a reward, I got a jungle tank. I am very curious to see what I can do with this thing. Thanks to the animal catalog, I was able to purchase animals without Marnie being there. Someone tell Clint he should do the same damn thing. And she'll be glad I did because I purchased 12 goats. Promptly named Barry, Carrie, Parry, Nary, Gary, Harry, Jerry, Wary, Mary, Terry, Zary, and Quarry. Afterwards, I paid a visit to the quarry because I wanted to throw down some mega bombs to see what would happen. Turns out it was very satisfying. And around the day off, I added some more crystallariums to the Jadestone shed. Now that I had my barn full of goats, I handed out all 9 animal crackers I had collected thus far. I'll need 3 more, but that'll do for now. Today marked George's birthday, so I gave him one of his favourites, a leek. Afterwards, I popped by Robin's place where she taught me how to make flute and drum blocks. However, a certain lack of fibre made it hard to craft some, so I spent the rest of the day farming level 80 in the mines for fibre. Look, the Statue of Blessings really did a number on my fibre. I need more, okay? Not to worry though, because on the next day I had everything to craft 5 of them, which helped me charm a mermaid into handing over some golden walnuts. It was a good luck day, and being on Ginger Island made it pretty impossible to look past the dig site, so the dig site is where I stayed. for another episode of Panning with Poxio. We had to make up for last episode. How dare I not get any rings? So armed with a lucky lunch, I got to work. Not only did I pan up lucky ring number 5, but I doubled it just for good fun and got number 6 while I was at it. I'm gonna say the fairy gave me a little extra luck today. Day 194 is probably one of the most ridiculous days I've ever experienced. And to be frank, it was my own fault. Believe me when I say I was meant to go and put a shirt I panned up yesterday into my drawers. But I just walked into my house and went straight to sleep. I have it on record that in this moment I said, "What the f am I doing? Oh my god, I just went to bed by accident." What's even funnier is overnight we got our baby boy. I called him Teddy. The shirt was put away just a day later. Most of today was spent with odd jobs, collecting and shipping away another round of starfruit wine, decorating the pet area with a dog house and a cat tree, repopulating the animal area with more grass, and attending the Spirits Eve festival. This year the maze had changed, but it was quite fun to figure out a new maze. The reward for making it to the end this year was a prize ticket. And with that, here we are on the final day of fall. If I'm being honest, starfruit harvesting and dumping it all into kegs took up majority of the day. Not to mention I got to expand the ancient fruit a wee bit too. Slow and steady wins the race, it seems. There's only a few more days left in this video, so I think we should just leave it here. I don't want the valley to be all cold and wintry anyway, so let's just leave it. Oh wow, he didn't cut it. You know what, I actually really hate it when editing Poxil cut. The winter seeds and powder melon seeds left over from the last winter were once again the only things I could grow in the frosty season. At least it's something though. It didn't take me long to get them planted down, so I made it my mission today to finish the fishing collection. There were 3 fish I had left to catch. The first was a perch that I caught up at the mountain lake. The second was a lingcod. I caught this feisty lad down in the river. And last but not least was the beast we like to call the glacier fish. The 5th and final legendary fish. This sucker put up quite the fight. Honestly, I had an easier time catching the legend way back in spring, but eventually I reeled it in, and that was the first of many tasks to tick off for perfection. Day 198 began with another star drop, my reward for collecting every fish. I then tried completing a help wanted quest for Willy, which was to catch 4 perch, because I was told it would give me a prize ticket, only it didn't. So whoever told me that is a big old. Day 199 was Linus's birthday, so I paid him a visit to his tent to hand over a coconut and a spare star drop tea I had for those juicy friendship points. And I actually cannot believe it, but here we are on day 200. As is tradition in all of my 100 days videos, I take the final day off to spend relaxing and recuperating in the spa. The last 100 days were nothing short of crazy. But let's be real, I wouldn't expect anything less. We managed to become a master of all 5 skills. We got married to our sweetheart Haley, we got to explore a brand new festival, and don't even get me started on panning with Poxil. I have to say we are running full steam ahead towards perfection, but unfortunately for that my friends, you're just gonna have to wait for what I hope will be the thrilling conclusion to our 1.6 adventure. For now, I think I'm just gonna stay here a while and maybe sip away on a star drop tea, just to see what all the fuss is about. The snow-covered valley is where we ended last time, so it's only fitting that it's exactly where we kick off the beginning of the end. There's no time to be sad though, we've got a lot to accomplish in the next 100 days, and that starts with greeting my wonderful pets. Midnight, my cat, Lola, my dog, and new addition Cookie, my trusty noble steed. As I did my daily rounds of the farm, reconnecting with the layout and all the bits and bobs I'd set up, I thought of all the tasks I'd have to tick off for perfection. There was a lot to do, but I knew I'd just have to take it all one step at a time. So you'd think that my first day back would be spent doing something productive, right? Wrong. It's me, so of course I didn't. I took Cookie on a wild goose chase around the valley to find another pretty prismatic butterfly. Although I did see Haley overhearing a conversation with Penny and the kids. They were sad they couldn't afford new school books. Well, most of them were. Never to mind, I'm already moving on, so I can't dwell on it. I said my good mornings to Larry, Harry, Nary, Zary. Actually, I'm just gonna say the goats. I don't want to have to list them all every time I pet them, because I do that every day. To make up for the lack of productivity yesterday, I rolled up my sleeves and worked on the shipping collection. The hoarder within me finally paid its dues today. I went around the farm ransacking every chest for one of each material, resource, product, crop, and any miscellaneous items the shipping collection needed. Some spare fairy dust helped me to collect missing jellies and mayos I needed too. I have to say I made quite the dent yesterday, but I still had a few things to ship off as we go along. In my daily rounds, I collected mystic syrup, picked up some raisins and dried purple mushrooms, and I got together a round of starfruit wine left over from last time. Yes, I will be continuing to utilize my starfruit crop, as well as starting that goat cheese side hustle I mentioned in the last video. I've still got 2 obelisks and a golden clock to save up for. Caroline was celebrating a birthday today, so I gave her a summer spangle and a spare Stardrop tea to boost up those friendship points. Afterwards, I popped by the raccoons to finish another fetch quest. I got a green bean, which I later found out that the fetch quests can give items that you haven't ticked off from the shipping collection. Yes, I forgot to grow a green bean. I don't want to talk about it. The wife shop expanded too, allowing me to trade in regular mystery boxes for golden ones, and to trade golden mystery boxes for magic rock candies. Back on the farm, along with the raisins, I shipped off a few things that I had missed yesterday. Actually, I shipped off a few liqueurs along with them too. To round the day off, I got a head start on the mysterious Mr. Key quest, which had me take a battery to the box inside the road tunnel, a rainbow shell to the box up by the railroad, and beets into Lewis's fridge. But for some reason, it wasn't letting me. I thought because Lewis was there, it wouldn't let me. So I just gave up and I called it a night. You may be shocked to know that this single giant powder melon is the first giant crop that I've ever had. Even 1,000 hours in and I'm still encountering things for the first time. It should be to no surprise that I had some winter crops to take care of. I quickly realized that Lewis's was locked up today since the ice festival was taking place beside Marnie's ranch. Strange, because I walk into people's unoccupied houses every other day. Actually, maybe don't tell them that. With nothing much else on my plate, I thought I might as well go and check it out. Safe to say, I absolutely smoked the competition, and even my wife Haley got some stunning shots of her husband's triumph. I gave my sailor's hat over to Cookie the next morning, and now all of my animals have hats. That is just friggin' adorable. It had been a hot minute since I had last done a starfruit harvest, so instead of seeing Sandy for the seeds first, I went straight to Ginger Island first. Then I had to backtrack to the desert for seeds after harvesting the fruit, then go all the way back to plant them down, but hey, we got them planted, and that's what matters. I got to seed up another ancient fruit, I had to clear up some of the weeds and fix up the paths too, and I planted some pineapple, just to grow for the shipping collection. On the way home, I once again tried to do the same thing with the beets, hoping for a different outcome. We all know how that ended. So fed up, I headed home for the night. Luckily, I didn't forget to keg the starfruit, but I almost did. And to round off the day, I added a bunch of cheesemakers to the goat's barn. Unfortunately, you can't just age goat milk in casks, you kinda have to turn it into cheese first. I won't lie, this beet quest was starting to get up my goat, as it were. For those unfamiliar with that phrase, I'll put it simply, it was peeving me off. To cool off, I took a ride through the wintry air up to Robin's, where I purchased a workbench and a couple of mini fridges. Prepping my fridges full of crops and products was the perfect distraction. The cooking collection was looking a bit dismal at the moment, but filling these fridges would make ticking off recipes a breeze in the future. In the middle of all of this, Haley made a request to me to bring a chocolate cake to the town square, weather dependent, so of course I said yes. Not to mention, today was also Sebastian's birthday, so it was back to Robin's to hand him a void egg. Circling down to Pierre's, I popped in to purchase a few cooking things that I could take back to the farm. And later that night, I made a realization that would make Mr. Bean look like the next Albert Einstein. I was trying to put rhubarb in Lewis's fridge, not beets. Well, that's a real low point for me. Anyway, to take my mind off the pure disappointment coursing through my body, I used today to make a start on another collection. This time it was the crafting collection. Perfection makes you craft at least one of everything, and I've learned in the past that not using a workbench sucks. So with one of them between a few of my main chests, I was able to craft with efficiency unseen by the likes of, well, me, I guess. Most of the things I trashed because I didn't need it, but a few I kept, like these signs you can ride on. I managed to craft quite a lot. However, the lack of hardwood made it a bit tricky towards the end of the day. It caught me a little off guard this morning when I saw the Squid Fest was on today, so I quickly changed my plans for the day. I grabbed my bait maker and headed down to the beach. One of my side goals was to find all of the power books added in the update, and Squid Fest hands out one of them as a prize. In order to get it, I need to fish up 8 squid, but armed with the bait maker, I don't think I was going to have many problems. I wasn't wrong, because just as the afternoon rolled around, I caught the last squid I needed. I passed by the tent to collect up my prizes, and I added another book to the collection. This one giving me a 25% chance for crab pots to yield a double catch. Afterwards, I popped into Lewis's house, this time with beets and not rhubarb. And wow, look at that, it worked, who would have guessed? The final task was to feed the bones of a dragon a solar essence out in the desert, which led me all the way back home, and I picked up the club card from my very own wood pile. I'll be making use of this a little later on. For now, I made more cheese in goat heaven. Yes, that's what I called it. Why? I have no idea, to be honest. I know one thing for sure, it beats saying Larry, Harry, Nary, Zary, Wary. I was riding Cookie into town on day 209 when I stumbled into Haley's Cake Roulette, happening in the town square. Some people got cakes that sounded very interesting, some got cakes that sounded like a fun time, and Pam got my chocolate cake. The money Haley raised was going towards new school books for Penny and the kids. Aww. And I just think that is the sweetest thing ever. I was on my way to Clint's because he'd have the honor of opening a stack of 200 plus Omni Geodes for me. I was paying him to do it, so I can't say it's revenge by any means. Maybe I should pop a rain totem every Thursday so he never has a day off. Revenge plans aside, I spent a while getting the geodes cracked open, donating any new materials and artifacts to the museum, then dumping the remaining stones into my shipping bin back on the farm. I did this 4 times total, and Gunther was probably having a field day with all the donations coming in. When the geodes were all gone, I only had 3 minerals left to find. Then back on the farm that evening, I planted and fertilized a few mahogany tree seeds. You know, for the lack of hardwood. Goat Heaven had produced enough cheese for me to cask my first lot down in the basement of the farmhouse. Don't worry, they aren't gold quality just yet because my goats aren't producing large milk. They just need a little extra love and care first. Today was also Harvey's birthday, so I paid him a visit in the clinic to hand over a rabbit's foot. Close by, I found Caroline amongst her greenhouse out the back of her home, and yes, I got to see the cutscene. You know the one I'm talking about.
Hi, how are you?
And afterwards, I took a bus ride out to the desert. The club card I had found the other day got me past the bouncer in the Oasis shop. Out the back is a little casino ran by the man himself, Mr. Key. I was here to gamble, so I inhaled a lucky lunch, I bought myself some key coins, and I hit the slot machines. Success came in the form of a rainbow trout jackpot, which allowed me to get the last rare crow I needed, and I put it back down on the farm. With time still left in the day, I got a start on the cooking collection. I did still have to go out and grab random stuff for some recipes, but those fridges I bought were making it so much easier. Not a lot was going on the next morning, just a bunch of winter seed planting. And yeah, I'm keeping the giant powder melon because I think it looks cool. I won't lie, I wanted to craft a deluxe scarecrow. I got the recipe in the mail this morning for finding all the rare crows, but I had 0 fiber. So I did have to stop off in the mines for a bit to get some, but eventually I got to make it later on. The night market was back that night. Along with a big portrait of my wife that I bought, I watched the mermaid show. Then I used a secret note to get a pearl. It's no longer only the fish that'll always be watching me. It's always a great start to the day when I get together another round of ancient fruit wine. It's starfruit wine. I might not be a millionaire in real life, but in the valley, I am a tycoon. Faced with a very good luck day, I thought I should spend my time down in the Skull Caverns. I was down here for materials for the most part. However, I had monster slayer goals looming over my head for perfection anyway, so I wasn't going to pass up on an opportunity to whittle them down a little bit. To say it was unsuccessful would be an outrage. Just look at all that good loot. The 17th of winter is Magnus's birthday, so I rode Cookie down to his tower so I could drop off a purple mushroom. I then got a couple of items together to hand over to the raccoons again. I noticed that they gain a raccoon baby every time I complete a quest, so I guess I'll just keep going until they run out of room. Additionally, I got some unmilled rice, another crop I can tick off for the shipping collection. That afternoon, I sailed across the Gem Sea to the island so that I could trade a gorilla one banana for a few golden walnuts. And I was gonna search the volcano dungeon for walnuts, but I quickly realized that I forgot my watering can. So it was back to the valley for now, and off to bed shortly after. I had things the right way round this time. I purchased the seeds before heading over to Ginger Island, and we can all give Poxeel a round of applause for being competent. Yay, he's competent, woo! Starfruit harvesting and seed planting is what followed. Finished off with starfruit kegging, and I had another successful starfruit day under my belt. That night I was mooching around the farm, knocking off a few things towards the different collections. I used some fairy dust purchased from the raccoons for mystic syrup to make mayo. That was a big help for making more cooking recipes. One other aspect of perfection I was close to finishing were the golden walnuts. Believe it or not, I only had 2 left to find. One, according to Leo's bird, was in the volcano dungeon treasure chests. The other would be revealed in a secret note, so I reserved today for the volcano dungeon. The good news, I managed to get the treasure walnut, no worries. The bad news, the secret page was nowhere to be found. Now don't get too excited, but I did clear out the dig site. You'll get your panning fix soon enough, don't you worry. But the note still wasn't showing up. So the next day, after chopping down some grown mahogany trees and using some of the hardwood to make treasure totems, and then giving Evelyn a birthday gift, I didn't forget this time. I used the treasure totems in hopes of finding the note. Well, that sucks. No matter what I did or how hard I tried, it just wasn't meant to be. So I just bought it. That's right, I can pay off the birds to find it for me. I still have to find the note at some point, but I'll leave that problem for future Poxeel. For now, I guess finding a prismatic butterfly on the way home was some type of compensation. And overnight I got to see Morris sitting on a pile of gold while the birds flew around finding the walnuts. When in reality I only paid him 10,000 to find one single walnut, so who's really laughing now, Morris? Which means that technically I can cross off golden walnuts from my list. One down, many more to go. To begin my day, I added a few more crystallariums to the jade stone shed, which will double the jade production. I then made use of my mini forge, something I crafted at the end of the last video. How convenient is it that I can enchant all of my tools from the comfort of my own home? The enchants included Crusader for my sword, which does 50% more damage to mummies, ghosts, skeletons, and void spirits. Swift for my pickaxe, tool use is 33% faster. Swift also for my axe. Reaching on my hoe, increasing charge up capacity for greater area of effect. Efficient on my watering can, no energy drain when using it, and the same for my fishing rod. With the backpack full of enchanted tools, I headed up to the Adventurers Guild to have a quick gander at the Monster Slayer goals. I noticed Void Spirits needed some work, so I popped a Monster Musk and spent the rest of the day down in the mines, slaying. The slaying continued on to day 218. The more perceptive of you might have seen I have a magical quiver aiding my crusade. That's because I have a new trinket, promptly called the Magic Quiver. This trinket was a great help in completing another Monster Slayer goal. I didn't quite get around to it yesterday, so this morning was spent sorting another round of winter seeds, and finding Leah tucked away in her cozy home to give her a truffle for her birthday. She somehow bet me back home and gave me the sculpture that she was just working on. Seriously, Leah? How did you do that? I popped it down for some decoration on the farm. To fill in the afternoon, I traded some Omni Geodes at the Desert Trader. I then got Clint to do a big artifact trove / geode unboxing for me. I got a few more donations for the museum, which I'm sure Gunther will be pleased with. Plus, I got a new power. I read the treasure appraisal guide, which will fetch me a better price for selling artifacts. But those last 3 minerals were starting to become quite the rarity. Funnily enough, I found a stack of more troves back on the farm. It was too late to go back though. Instead, I spent the night time adding paths under my sprinklers and coming up with a game plan for the remaining artifacts. I'm excited to say my goats in goat heaven are feeling loved enough to produce large milk now. This is going to make aging cheese so much quicker. As for that artifact plan, a couple I got from secret spots around the valley, and then it was back to Clint to open the remaining artifact troves. A couple more donations followed, which you know, I can't complain about. The quest for artifacts took me back out to the desert. 2 treasure totems helped me dig up 2 more undiscovered relics of the valley. One final effort with treasure totems right outside Robin's place had me dig up an ancient doll. With only 2 artifacts left to find and 3 minerals, I was honing in on that final star drop pretty quickly. But before I can get ahead of myself, it's Santa! Look at Santa! You know what that means. It means I accused my mother of adultery for kissing Santa underneath the mistletoe last night. Hold on, wait a minute. No, that's not it. No, actually, it's the Feast of the Winter Star, my bad. And what a treat it was to wake up to starfruit wine under the Christmas tree this year. Or maybe under the roof of a keg shed, but you know, same thing. I hate to say it, but Clint was my secret person this year. We've had our ups and downs, so to reconcile our friendship, I gave him a ruby. Demetrius, on the other hand, gave me a blueberry cobbler. Yeah, I've received worse. I'm looking at you, Pierre. It was nice to see Teddy out and about this morning. Some of you, primarily due to the auto captions on the last video, thought I named him Teddy. I did not. It's Teddy, like a teddy bear. It's my Kiwi accent, okay? Anyway, it's funny that today is Clint's birthday, so I'm sure he's feeling all the love right about now. I was on my way to the museum to drop off that strange doll I dug up the other night, and afterwards I returned home to gather a random assortment of items. Not so random when I tell you they were for the fetch quests I hadn't looked at in almost 3 years. The rest of the day was spent handing out these long overdue items to the villagers of Pelican Town. I should note that I saw that rat thing again, which you have all told me is a possum. I broke my goat in the last video, and I think I've now somehow broken Teddy.
That's my boy. Father help!
It seems my little gifting tirade yesterday has made me quite a popular guy. Just look at all of these cooking recipes. The last couple of days I've been sneaking into Caroline's greenhouse to yoink tea leaves, which I'll use for the shipping collection. Just don't tell her. Today was another day spent harvesting and kegging a crop of starfruit, and I could also tick pineapple off from the shipping collection. Day 224 marks the end of another winter season, but also the end of my second year in the valley. To mark the occasion, I was treated to a basement full of iridium quality goat's cheese. The goat cheese side hustle, I'm pleased to say, was now in full swing. I then popped out to the desert to trade a stack of jadestone for staircases. I'll be diving into some of Key's quests soon, and I want to be prepared. That afternoon I popped back out to the desert trader to trade some iridium bars for the desert totem crafting recipe. And back on the farm I hooked into the workbench and crafted some more items now that I had the hardwood to do so. I sat atop Cookie that evening watching the last glimmers of winter across the farm. Yet overnight I was visited by the ghost of my grandpa, exclaiming how proud he was of me, which was certainly a nice way to finish out another year in the valley. Thus begins year number 3. I got to see the candles around Grandpa's shrine all light up, and upon investigation, I got the Statue of Perfection. I did say that I'd be starting to undertake Key's challenges this year, so the very first one I picked up was Key's Hungry Challenge, which tasked me to get level 100 in the Skull Caverns without eating. Also, because I grew each and every crop last year, you may be wondering what I'll be doing with the crop fields on my farm this time around. Giant crops is my answer. The powder melon inspired me to get all of the giant crops. To round out the first day of spring, I fished out on the pier. I wasn't in doubt, don't get me wrong, we all know what to do when you're in doubt, but I needed to finish Demetrius's biome balance special quest, which I did with the help of some spare challenge bait I had. Completing it gave me one of the few crafting recipes left to find, the farmed computer. Today's mission was to head to the Skull Caverns and finish the key quest. Getting through it in one day was made very easy with the stack of staircases I brought with me. Because of this luxury, it meant I had time to stop off on mummy floors to slay mummies towards their monster slayer goal. And I mean, hey, who's to say no to a bit of iridium, am I right? Eventually, I landed on level 100 and the first lot of key gems were all mine. And to top it all off, I got an auto petter. This will make a perfect addition to Goat Heaven. Oh god, why did I choose that name? There's no turning back now, I guess. Sorry Larry, Harry, Nary, Zary, Wary. I paid a quick visit to Robin this morning so I could get some stone. That stone I used to craft some more crystallariums, and I expanded my jade stone shed by a few more. Soon afterwards I shipped off tea leaves and green tea to tick off the shipping collection. And I finished yet another fetch quest for the raccoons. Their family was growing, but I think they had more in them. So I'll be back soon, Mr. and Mrs. Raccoon. Over at Lewis's, the prize machine gave me a star drop tea. Always good to have a spare one just in case. As for the rest of the day, I can't say too much happened. I was just browsing my collections tabs, wishing they'd just magically finish themselves. Unfortunately, a miracle like that is very unlikely. Sometimes you gotta do the old-fashioned thing like going out there and doing it yourself. So I took it upon myself to get things done, and I headed to the volcano dungeon for the day. The reasons for being here were plenty. First of all, I needed to rack up magma sprite numbers towards their monster slayer goal. I needed to find that elusive secret note, and some more dragon teeth would be nice. That being said, I'm pleased to say the magma sprites were slayed, the secret note was finally found, and I traded a book from the dwarf on level 5 for 10 diamonds. This book makes all stones that are mined by hand have a chance to drop a diamond. And I did get one dragon tooth along the way. I have to say, not too shabby. Not too shabby. On the other hand, day 229 was spent gift giving. I was focusing more on the villagers who had next to no hearts or whose birthdays had been and gone. In the middle of all the gift giving, I dug up that secret note spot for an ostrich egg. And after the second half of gift giving was finished, I put it into its own special incubator back on the farm. With time still left in the day, I spent it getting a rare seed from the traveling cart, trading omni geodes for artifact troves at the desert trader, ticking off a couple more cooking recipes in the kitchen, and sitting very, very still. I always get a lot of comments about how funny it is when I say keg shed, so for all my American viewers out there, I gathered another round of starfruit wine from my keg shed this morning. In other news, I'm back to hating Clint again. I gave him 11 chances to give me 2 artifacts I needed. He gave me a solid 0 in return. Thanks for nothing, Clint. So I went back to gift giving for the day. Not to mention I planted green beans, restocked my fridge of cooking ingredients, and caught fish around the valley so that I could whip up some greatness in the kitchen. But before I knew it, it was already the next day. I was met with more odd jobs this morning, like giving our very own Mayor Lewis a birthday gift, trading another stack of jade stone with the desert trader for even more staircases, and aging another round of goat cheese down in the basement. This time they were all gold quality, so it only takes a week to age to iridium. Using my trademark pop a treasure totem and hope I get the right artifact method is exactly how I found one of the final artifacts I needed. If it ain't broke, am I right? Afterwards, I popped down to the lower levels of the mines, just so I could mine for magma geodes, and I ended up stumbling upon a new trinket called the Golden Spur. I did want to continue farming for magma geodes, however something much more important required my attention. That was, of course, another starfruit harvest. Before leaving the island, I passed by Key's Walnut Room, where I picked up the extended family quest, which basically gets you to catch all 5 legendary fish again. However, this was an opportunity for profits, and I'll tell you how. When the quest is active, you can catch multiple of each legendary fish. So, if I tried to catch as many Legend 2 fish from the mountain lake, then I could smoke them for massive profits. Up at the lake, I caught my first one and turned it into bait using the bait maker, just to see if it would help me to catch more. But it didn't really. Every bit of bait got wasted, so I ruled out that option pretty quickly. I put my foot to the grindstone the next day and spent it all catching and smoking every fish I caught. 4 of them were Legend 2s, and I was catching every fish with a cork bobber and a trap bobber, so if I did hook a Legend 2, then I'd have the most chance of catching it. On the final day of the quest, I went around the valley catching every other legendary fish. I thought I might as well since I'll need the key gems. I should also note that I didn't forget about our little lad Vincent's birthday, plus I smoked all of the other legendary fish for some more cash. I kept fishing in hopes of catching a final few legends, but I think they disappear as soon as the quest is finished because I didn't catch any more. Never to mind, the grand total for a couple of days of catching and smoking legendary fish was 183,000 gold. I think if you manage to get this quest and utilize all 3 days purely catching and smoking Legend 2s, you would easily make 500,000 gold in 3 days. Not a bad side hustle if you're a keen fisher like myself. Today it was back to normality. I had a few chores around the farm to catch up on, having been sucked up into the excitement of extreme fishing over the last couple of days. My ostrich had hatched too, so that's fun. In a fun turn of events, I was down in the mines grinding for more magma geodes, when all of a sudden, a slain void spirit dropped a rare disc, the final artifact I needed. It's like they heard my complaints about Clint all the way down here. That was all the excitement I got though. Magma geode hunting took up the rest of the day. Our favorite big ballooned book selling vendor was back in town today. I was hoping for a new book, but he wasn't selling any new ones today. So from one useless vendor to the next, I stopped by Clint's with my magma geodes. And to my surprise, I got not 1, but 2 of the final 3 minerals. Who would have thought? So now I have 1 single mineral left to find. And clearly, I was super stoked about that. Since it was on my mind, back to the mines I went to gather regular geodes, in hopes of one of them would crack open the missing mineral. I got a giant cauliflower! Woohoo! And a quick side note, the parrot trinket sits on your head and it does a little boogie. Unfortunately, I couldn't do any more geode related tasks today because it's Egg Festival Day. Showing up in town today, I felt like a disgraced hero. I'm sure we're all well aware of what happened last time. However, it was time to prove myself. The eggs were back in their usual places, and you bet your sweet tushies I reclaimed my egg hunt title. Following that redeeming victory was another round of aged goat cheese down in the basement, and it seems a meteor has hit my farm once again. Luckily it wasn't so close to the animals this time. You should know I'm back to hating Clint again. I gave him 13 chances to give me the last mineral, and he disappointed me yet again. I'm getting very close to writing that passive aggressive Yelp review, Clint. There's not much else I can do I guess, except fill the now empty crop fields with strawberries I had bought yesterday, gather the cauliflower my Judimos had picked for me, and whip up some jelly and dried coconuts to finish off another raccoon fetch quest. I got a star drop tea in return, which is always a welcome reward. I'm sad to say that the parrot doesn't perch when you're on a horse. We could have been like a cute totem pole or something. I love starting a day with starfruit wine, and day 239 was no exception. After shipping it off, I took a quick trip over to Ginger Island. Being a new week meant new key quests, and I accepted the Skull Cavern Invasion quest. The 15th of spring marked the return of the Desert Festival. Last year I got acquainted with it, and this year I was gonna smash it. I got my Skull Cavern challenge from Marlin and headed inside. Bringing staircases with me was a brilliant idea, and as I dived down the caverns, I was not only collecting calico eggs, but I was also slaying monsters for monster slayer goals. I am pleased to say that I did tick off the mummy monster slayer goal, all the while trying to get to level 100 for the key quest. I won't lie to you though, I was thriving. I passed level 100 in no time at all, adding on to my pile of key gems, and calico eggs were being gathered by the dozens. I appeared topside again later that night, and Gil was so impressed with my work that he gave me 250 calico eggs. On top of the eggs I gathered in the caverns, and answering all the questions to this scholar's quiz, it brought my total to 500 eggs for the day. The trouble is, I had to spend them all now. I waited until the afternoon for the 2 random villager vendors to show up. And today we had George and Alex. Alex sold me something called magic hair gel. It's a trinket, and it makes my hair prismatic. How cool is that? The rest of the eggs went towards mystery boxes, bows, and a few random things from George. Way later in the day, Cookie and I took a ride through the downpour to finish the final bundle in the broken down Joja Mart, the missing bundle. In a flash of stars and sparkles, the final Junimo was sent home to the others, and a new building would be replacing this one very soon. The bows I bought yesterday from the Desert Festival went straight to my pets this morning. Now they all kinda match. Aww. Today was meant to be another starfruit harvest, hence the random starfruit in my toolbar, but the excitement of the Desert Festival still going on meant that Sandy wasn't working in the Oasis shop today. I did get a free cactus, so it felt like I left with at least something. I'm back to not hating Clint, by the way. I gave him so many chances to give me the last mineral, and he managed to crack open a single piece of Celestine. I ran it back to the museum and filled in the final spot. For completing the museum, I got the final star drop, so I can tick that off the perfection to-do list. And just get a load of that museum layout. God, doesn't that just make your eyes happy? On the way home afterwards, I noticed the new building left in place of the old Jojo Mart was a movie theater. The following day, after handing Pam a parsnip for her birthday, I had to make up for that missed starfruit day yesterday, which took up most of the day, as it usually does. I did notice that I only had 2 books left to find. One I would find hidden outside the fences to the right of Clint's, and the other I'd find in Marlon and Gil's bedroom of all places. The alleyway buffet gives me a greater chance to find items in the trash, and the Map and Cave Systems book gives me a 50% discount to Marlon's retrieval service. Having read both books, I got a new achievement called Well Read for reading every book. My ostrich had laid her first egg this morning. I put it into the shipping bin because I hadn't shipped one yet, and the one and only time I'll be making use of the movie theater is today. I took Jazz to see The Brave Little Sapling. I needed a few extra hearts with Jazz, and I heard this was her favorite movie. Plus I got another new achievement, 2 thumbs up for seeing a movie. Not too sure what to do with the remainder of the day, I retired to the volcano dungeon, where I collected dragon teeth and gave some magma sprites a taste of the end of my sword. Before heading back again, I had a couple of things to do, which included gifting Shane a hot pepper for his birthday and dumping goat cheese into my basement full of casks. On the way past the island trader, I traded some cinder shards for a crafting recipe. Then it was back to magma sprite slaying. It took most of the day, but I did slay enough magma sprites to finish off the monster slayer goal. The 2 remaining Monster Slayer goals were lying down in the Skull Caverns. With the help of some handy dandy staircases, I found a Pepper Rex infested level, which was all I needed to tick one of them off. Then about 20 seconds after that, I slayed the final serpent and got the final Monster Slayer goal, which ticks off another task from my perfection agenda. I caught Linus on the way home and he taught me how to make wild bait. Weird interactions aside, it was Monday, so I found myself heading to Key's Walnut Room. The challenge I picked up this week was the Danger in the Deep quest, which resets the elevator in the mines and makes you dive through a more dangerous version of the mines. Staircases, however, turn this challenge into an absolute cakewalk. I did make sure to grab some radioactive ore on the way down. I'll need it for some crafting recipes and the shipping collection. Soon enough, I had made it all the way down to level 120, where I received my 50 key gems and another achievement promptly called Danger in the Deep. Very on brand. I had one more achievement to get that night. When I went to check in on the raccoons, I got the Good Neighbors achievement. It seems my raccoon friends had every part of their family, and it's nice to have some friendly neighbors. It's safe to say I did a whole lot of nothing on day 247, and there's not a word of a lie. I did a lot of vendor scouting for things I might have missed, but that's about it. I'd make up for that twofold today. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we are back at the dig site on Ginger Island for your favorite segment of all time. That's right, everybody, it's time for, and say it with me now, Panning with Poxiel! I must say I am very happy with how season 4 of Panning with Poxiel is going. I was hoping that I could continue that trend. As the day pushed on, I was getting quite unlucky, which is ironic because it was a really good luck day and I had inhaled a lucky lunch and a ginger ale for a luck buff. But long after the sun had set, when I thought it was all over, the last panning spot of the day produced lucky ring number 7, and I breathed in a very heavy sigh of relief. I kept the good times rolling with a couple of sheds full of starfruit wine this morning. Over the GMC, I popped into Key's Walnut Room to have a peek at the rewards machine. I had crafting recipes to purchase, but I needed 180 key gems for all of them. Just gotta keep grinding those challenges for a little while longer. Later on I wanted to make use of my anvil. You use iridium bars to re-roll trinkets in hopes that you can get it to the max level or the best stat roll. I wanted to try for a max level fairy, and this is about how well it went. And yet still no level 5 fairy, not even a level 4. I feel scammed. Day 250 marks the halfway point, but if we've learnt anything, then you'll know the only way to celebrate is through hard work. That sweet gemberry I bought ages ago had grown to the point of harvest, so I dumped that into the shipping bin, and believe it or not, that was the final item I needed for the shipping collection, so I guess I can take that off my list now. I might not have managed to forge a max level fairy, but one trinket I did have was a max level parrot, and I had some plans with this bad boy. I had seen that a level 4 parrot in the dangerous mines can make you some serious profits. Diving through levels 40 to 50 with a monster musk and the parrot trinket could be a serious moneymaker. So I tried it out for the day and I made just under 50,000 gold. Even for a late start, I think the results speak for themselves. Heading down to the Cindersap forest the next morning, I got a cute little cutscene with all the raccoons. But I don't record with music, so enjoy whatever I decide to put over top of this. I was actually on my way to give Emily some wool for her birthday. Afterwards, my time was once again taken up dealing with another starfruit harvest. It's getting a little tedious, but my wallet was looking very healthy, and that's all thanks to these little suckers right here. So I can't really complain. Today is day 252, the end of another wonderful spring season. The goat cheese side hustle down in the basement had produced another round of aged cheese. I made no hesitation to chuck it into the shipping bin. I thought a fun way to finish off this season would be to explore Lewis's basement and fighting off a pair of flying purple shorts. Yes, you just heard me right, Lewis has a basement maze dedicated to his purple shorts. And yes, a pair of purple shorts attack you on the way out. God, I love goofy things like that. To round out the day, I cooked a few more dishes, so I at least did something productive and sat in the rain with Cookie, waiting for summer. 2 seasons worth of successful giant crops gave me the confidence to go for a third, so my crop fields were covered in a whole load of melons. Fingers crossed that I now get a giant crop. I was right to Key's walnut room afterwards. New challenges mean new chances for key gems. I decided between the two to pick Key's prismatic grange challenge, which tasks me to find 100 items of each color and give them to Mr. Key. And that's what I tried to do. I ran the Joja soda machine dry, buying 100 Joja colas, and back on the farm I tried to gather the rest of what I needed. The next day started off with aging another lot of goat cheese in the basement and handing over the items for Key's quest. Only the maple syrup and speed grow didn't count as items, which is a shame because I had to waste time going back to the valley finding replacements for those items, then going all the way back to finish it off. But we got there eventually. I say wasting time because for the next few days the parrot trinket came back out and levels 40 to 50 in the dangerous mines were the location of some serious money making. On top of the gold I was making, monsters had a chance to drop extra key gems and galaxy souls. Galaxy souls were seriously great to get because it meant I didn't have to buy them from Key. I'm loving these little side hustles. I should also mention I gave Jazz a birthday present too. Over the course of those 3 days, 3 galaxy souls dropped for me, which was the perfect amount of souls needed to craft the Infinity Blade, one of the most powerful weapons in the game. And doing so actually got me the new Infinite Power achievement, and of course I took it for a spin in the mines. I couldn't help myself. By the end of this 4-day crusade I had made just over 257,000 gold total, which is double of what my goat cheese makes in a single week. But I decided to put the parrot away by day 258. I'd done my dash in the mines for a while. I also had another round of starfruit wine to collect up. I had gold coming out of my ears by this point. All of those extra key gems from my dangerous mines expeditions meant I was able to afford all the crafting recipes from Key's prize machine. As soon as I made it back home, I got right onto crafting them all. The green rain phenomenon had returned to the valley the next day. I made it my mission to gather as much fiber and moss as I possibly could, because I would need the materials for a future project. It's about all I did today, but it'll be worth it, I promise. As for the day after, well, after my usual morning rounds on the farm, I tended to a starfruit harvest on the island farm. I accepted another Danger in the Deep quest on behalf of Mr. Key. I passed by the saloon to drop off a birthday gift to Gus, utilized my, how shall I say, cud shads for more starfruit wine, and hung out with my cutie patootie pets. I started this morning down in the basement, collecting up a batch of quality goat cheese, and after shipping it off, I made a pretty big decision. I was sick and taking local transport to the island in the desert. Why even support local when I can just teleport there myself? So yes, I got the last two obelisks from the Wizard's Book of Summoning, the island obelisk and the desert obelisk. Afterwards, I popped off to the mines for a while to finish up Key's quest I picked up yesterday. After hitting the bottom, I teleported off to the island where I used the key gems to get Pierre's missing stock list. Which meant that the following day, after handing Maru a birthday present no less, that I could hand it over to Pierre, unlocking his inventory to be sold all year round. I needed this in particular to purchase 4 specific flower seeds. Those flower seeds I took back home, I used them to craft the tub of flowers, and... oh, wait a minute. I thought that was the last recipe I needed. Hold on a sec. Let me just go through all the craftables again. No, not that one. Come on, where is that? Ah, there it is. I see. I forgot to craft wild bait. There we are, people. Craft master is mine, and we get to tick off another perfection goal. The rest of the day I spent preparing for a decorator's greatest dream, an empty blank canvas of a farmhouse, and I purchased the Wizard's Catalogue from Krobus. With everything now in place to decorate, I think we better jump to a montage. Well, what a ride that was, and I must say, I think this might be my best work yet. Beyond content with how my farmhouse came out, I spent today tending to the chores I had neglected over the last few days, and I watched the top of my head change colour for a while. The starfruit wine was attended to this morning, and so was the start of another goat cheese aging process. Key was offering Danger in the Deep yet again this week, and I took it, because it's easy, and it gives the most key gems. So I'm sure you can guess what I did next. The gems I used to purchase the key to the town and a few mushroom tree seeds. The seeds I bought because I'm continuing to decorate the rest of the farm. The decorator bug has bitten and I just can't stop. I've had this idea for a while now since I saw the Junimo catalog sell Junimo huts. The Junimo village looks so cool. I have my own mini Junimo village on my farm. The next morning, after handing Sam a cactus fruit for his birthday, I placed the final tufts of grass around the village, since I ran out last night, and I am obsessed. Unfortunately, the decorator train had to come to a halt after this. Profits were a-callin', and those star fruit weren't gonna harvest themselves. Let's hope for an automatic crop collector in a 1.7 update in the future, shall we? You can't stop the decorator train for long though. Let's roll that mini montage. Well now, would you look at that? That's one big juicy looking melon right I got over here. Demetrius was celebrating his birthday today, so I dropped in to give him a strawberry. Circling down to Piers, I bought some blueberry seeds and grass starter. And back on the farm, I used the grass starter to fill in the rest of the mushroom forest. The blueberries I planted to replace the melons. I fixed the pathing between the keg sheds and the mushroom forest this morning. It looked a little weird with just grass. I kept the decorator train rolling along today. Genuinely, all I did today was fix up the blue grass and the normal grass mix for this part of the Junimo village, and I planted a mini orchard in the corner of the farm. I kinda had no idea what to do with it, so a little orchard it is, and I moved all the obelisks over by one single tile. Because even though the golden clock was still on the wish list, I wanted to finally do up the obelisk area. And I can't forget that I gave the dwarf a birthday present, but I will admit it does look a little odd to start with, but once you put a few details in and you have a little faith in the process, it can turn out even better than you imagined. To really seal the deal, I needed all the secret statues from around the valley. So I got Lewis's gold statue from behind his house, the stone Junimo from behind the community center building, the Pinky Lemon statue from the saloon, the HMTGF statue from the hidden box above Clint's, the Frogman statue from Vincent's toy box, and I fished up an iridium crobus in front of the sewer grate. Lining up all of these statues in front of the obelisks really gave it that little extra bit of zest. I strapped 2 quality bobbers onto my rod the following day. I used them to catch an iridium quality sturgeon. What for? Well, it's Willie's birthday and he deserves the best. Really, I just needed an iridium quality gift to get him to full hearts. Back on the farm, I collected another rootin' tootin' round of starfruit wine to be shipped off, and I finished up the day by adding some final details to the soon-to-be golden clock area. The farm needed one final touch. That touch was a lick of paint. Who wants to look at boring vanilla colors when I can make my buildings any color I want? I was very happy with the colors I picked, except the yellow. Ew. I changed that to orange the next day, so please don't stress. I then hit the kitchen and ticked off a few more cooking recipes before tending to one of my bleating side hustles. Get it? Cause goats bleat, and I'm aging goat cheese down in the basement? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a bit embarrassed to admit that I completely missed Leo's birthday last year, so to make it up to him this year, I got him a quality present and a Star Drop tea, which I am happy to say absolutely skyrocketed his friendship points. And while I was over here, I thought I might as well deal with another starfruit harvest. I guess I have to keep making money if I want that golden clock. Also, you can see the orange I picked on the animal buildings. No more of that kind of yellow. This is not going to be easy for me to say. It is with a heavy heart that I tell you that today is the final episode of season 4 of your favorite segment of all time. I know. It's hard for all of us to accept that this has to come to an end. So for the final time this season, this is, and say it with me now, Panning with Poxio! And seeing as this is the final episode, I had to end it on a banger of an episode. And a banger of an episode is what we got. To boost the luck for today, I drank a ginger ale and downed a lucky lunch and got to work. Iridium pan in hand, I managed to pan up lucky ring number 8. Quickly following that, we panned up another, lucky ring number 9. Then to bring it all home, taking the total up to double digits, we got the last one. The big 1-0 is the final number of lucky rings we got over season 4 of Panning with Poxio. And I have to say, what a treat this season has been for us all, and you will be missed. During the last starfruit harvest a couple of days ago, I forgot to mention I had picked up Key's Prismatic Grange quest again, and with only one day left in the season, I thought I better get onto it and finish that off before I lose the opportunity. Quick side note, we also convinced Leo to move to the mainland. He'll be joining Linus up beside his tent in his very own treehouse. But it wouldn't be the end of summer without the Moonlight Jellies, a festival I'm sure that we are all familiar with. At this point, I'm truly running out of words to describe how beautiful this piece of music is, so please enjoy it as much as the dancing cat does. By now, it was day 281, and with only 20 days left until the big 300 milestone, I'd hit that part of the playthrough where I was just going through the motions to get as close to that juicy 100% as I could. It made me happy to see that the parrot does in fact sit on my shoulder when I'm sitting on Cookie, and Haley and I had our second child. We named our girl Poppy. Going through the motions meant giving gifts and slowly checking off the cooking recipes. There were a few birthdays left for me to take advantage of, and I was still completing key quests for key gems. Not to mention my 2 side hustles were in full swing. I opted to return to the mines again with my trusty coin parrot beside me as I went. The starfruit wine was still as profitable as ever, and I got to give Elliot a birthday present. Because farming the dangerous mines gives so many golden mystery boxes, I thought to trade them with the raccoons for magic rock candies, which made my expeditions down into the mines all that more enjoyable. In fact, I was doing so many of these mine crusades that I just decided that when I got back home from them each night, I'd just sell everything. I was so close to 10 million gold, so I was doing everything in my power to get it. The side hustles were certainly hustling, and I just couldn't get enough of the mines. But what's crazy is that all of these money-making schemes were working. Over the last 10 days, I had made 1.5 million gold between the wine, the cheese, and the parrot. Now, with only 10 days to go, it was down to the final stretch. I'll admit a lot of it was gift giving, but I finally got the horse flute from Key's prize machine. Now I can bring Cookie with me everywhere. I made sure to collect a round of goat cheese because we are inching our way to 10 million. And I got a pair of Junimo chests from Key's prize machine. I didn't forget about Abigail's birthday, but man, I was doing a lot of gift giving. It was tough because some people were half a heart from max hearts, or they were like 4 away, and there was no in between. After collecting a round of starfruit wine, I decided to rummage through my chest and sell quite literally anything I had to spare, and I crossed my fingers hoping that it would just be enough. On day 296, I cooked the second to last recipe for the cooking collection. Day 297, I took care of another starfruit harvest on Ginger Island. On day 298, I gave Marnie a birthday gift. Day 299, one day away from the end, I was able to purchase myself the fated golden clock. And thank Yoba, I can tick that one off my perfection list. And here we are, folks, on day 300. As is tradition in all of my 100 days videos, I head up to the spa to reflect on what has been the last 100 days. And well, it's been pretty crazy. But I wouldn't have expected anything less. We managed to tick off so many things on our journey to perfection. I am so happy I got to come up with so many money-making schemes. The farm and the farmhouse look absolutely incredible. And we got to send off another season of penning with Poxiel in the best way possible. You may be sitting there thinking, but Poxiel, you didn't get perfection. And that is a fair statement. I checked the perfection tracker and I'm currently at 97%. Now, I'm not going to play another 100 days when I only have 3% left. And looking at the runtime, you may have already guessed what's coming. I think it's time for an epilogue. Believe it or not, I'm no stranger to epilogues. It's kind of fitting that this series has one because the very first Stardew Valley series I ever did had one too. Long gone now are the days of playing each day out. I could now sleep for as long as I wanted to. Pretty much so I could just wake up and give birthday gifts. In between giving out the final presents to villagers for max friendship, I sprinkled in a few starfruit harvests to get a bit of extra gold. What, you think because it's an epilogue I'm gonna stop making money? Eventually I did get max friendships with all the villagers of Pelican Town. But before we could head to the summit, I had a few things to do. The first was the food bear. I always like feeding this big fuzzy guy so he can clean up the valley for me. Next was a turtle named EJ. My wonderful fiance requested that I name a pet after her. Now you know why I needed the funds. It was to purchase the purple turtle worth 500,000 gold. And I think she makes a lovely addition to my farm. Another item I wanted was the return scepter. It's a staff that can teleport you home anywhere at any time. And finally, I wanted to get Pam and Penny a community upgrade. It always feels nice to see them in their own house. And so with my list completed and everything ticked off, the 6th of spring year 4 was the day I cooked the final cooking recipe. And as I awoke the next day, I walked outside to the sight of tropical birds flying past and the sound of a rumble in the distance. Cookie and I rode up past the railroad onto the path up to the summit. Who was waiting there for me but Haley? We had a chat about all that we'd achieved over the last few years and how far we've come. And the final new achievement popped up called Perfection. A very fitting way to conclude this incredible adventure. The credits rolled and I'm happy to say that our journey through Stardew Valley 1.6 has come to its end. All good things must come to an end, as they say, so let's look back on the journey that was 300 days of Stardew Valley 1.6. We ended up spending 82 hours total on this playthrough. Of course, we managed to get perfection and that big 100% completion. Between all of our money hustles, we managed to make 24 million gold total. We got all the special items and powers, all of the secret statues, and all of the new achievements that came with the update. Like I said before, the farm turned out way better than I could have imagined. I'll link where you can find a proper screenshot of both the farm and the farmhouse down in the comments below. If you did enjoy the 1.6 series, then leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel would be amazing. It really does help me out. And it's weird to think, but that's about all I have left to say. Except you're all wonderful people, so have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching!